broadcast.
Hit the button. Close the door.
Right. Close the door. Hey, what's going on, guys? Dealer back again with an RDX podcast, Real Deal Xbox podcast. For those that are wondering, every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Sean LeBrie time. And we've got a phenomenal panel and a bunch of great topics. There's so much stuff that's happened over the past week, and things in general just
now play the game.
Seem to be kind of up and on. So if you guys are out there dealing with the struggles, man, all the bullshit going on, thanks for joining us, and hopefully we can take your mind off of it. We're here to kind of do that. So again, do some intros, do some shout outs, get into some topics. Thanks again for being here. Cody Eastwood, what's going on, brother? Good to have you back this week.
Thanks. I took the week off last week, and you've got Saints Row footage on.
I sure do. I did not. Yeah, things have been crazy, so I didn't have time to capture another chunk there. But,
everything's been crazy, so it's going to be a good show that way.
But yeah, thanks for joining us. D-Batch, man, what's going on? Sorry we're a little late, by the way.
Yeah, chilling, man. I'm in a good mood. I can't wait to get into the topics today. Some crow is going to be served again because people just, I don't know, they're just in denial. I guess step one of the 5 stages of grief. Step one is denial, and we're going to address that today. And I gotta say, I know we don't like to talk about VR on this show, but I played the new Half-Life, and I gotta say, wow. That's all I gotta say.
Okay. Hey, we've also got my buddy Sean LeBrie. I asked him randomly if he wanted to come on and just kind of talk about games. And just in case you guys didn't know, this is the guy that made the overlay that you're looking at right now with Marcus and Master Chief and all that stuff. So, Sean, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Listen to you guys all the time, and I think I pretty much talk to every one of you guys individually, but yeah, it's good to be on the show.
Yeah, he's always sliding in my DMs.
Sound like you're in a fucking dojo with your legs crossed wearing a gi. Yeah, just meditating. So thanks for joining us, buddy. I know you listen to the show, stuff we see in the chat. Grounded Gamer, Fonzarelli, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's up, man? It's good to be back. Missed last week as well, but I'm back, and I want to get into these topics, so introduce the next guy.
Yeah. We also
is there anybody left?
Well, there is. We also got to give a shout out to over 500 people already watching, waiting for us to get started here, guys. Sorry we're a little late, but we also heard that the YouTube notification box wasn't working or something crap, so if you guys could share this out for us, get the word out there. We're live, and of course, hit the like button if you wouldn't mind. It really helps more than you know. XCloud Tim Dog. Tim, what's going on, brother?
How you doing? Happy to be here. Big week last week and another big week this week. Just can't wait to get back into the topics and talk about everything that transpired throughout the weeks. It's going to be a big show tonight.
Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. Zalker, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing much, man. I'm excited to talk about all this stuff, like all the tech that happened, all the stuff that dropped, all the fraudulent people that got exposed. It's great. It's good times over here. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Everybody in the chat seems excited too. It's especially like you said in these times. It's great, man. Everybody can just talk about gaming and have a good time. Yeah, there was a lot of does Reset Era even exist anymore at a PS5 reveal event? That would be my question. But again, we got a ton of topics, and we're gonna get into some shout outs here. First and foremost to my patrons, or at least the shout out tier. Every patron should be in the scroll wheel above. Let me know if you're not, please. So to begin with, we've got Alec Gamer 4. Thank you so much for what you do, buddy. Frost did that shit. We got Dave. Shout out to Dave. Tony Stark RDX. Pixel Witcher. The Great One for Real. Foreign Object. Teo. John. Blue. Vec Boss. Deviator X. Obi-Wan FTW. Scout Trooper 74. Centurion 1307. Real Deal Neil. Suicide King. We've also got Tasteless Genie. Michael Bowen. Guillermo Cavillo. The Legend. And Chanogram. As well as Naughty Dubbin. Alfonso Hogan. Who just won our last giveaway on Patreon. And ASQD Gaming. As well as Slim73. Thank you guys for what you do. Whew. All right. There's PlayStation 5 specs. They were revealed. We'd always said, hey, both these systems are going to be badass. No matter which one you get, hopefully one's $400 and the other is going to be $500. Hopefully they're not both $500. But the PS5 and its specs were revealed via Mark Cerny. And there's a lot to kind of go into here for those of tech-minded nature. You guys should enjoy this quite a bit. CPU, GPU, and I guess, again, this is probably the worst show ever to have guests on, for at least for this section, because we're going to go in depth here. CPU, just like the Series X, Zen 2, 8-core, 16-thread at up to 3.5 gigahertz, and we'll explain this in a second. I'll go over it as quick as possible.
the GPU running at an astronomically high, over 2200 megahertz at its highest on the PS5. And I've got to applaud them for even doing that, let alone on a console with an AMD GPU. That's or an APU rather. There's no AMD card or chip in the world that I've ever heard of that really runs that quick, at least under a standard cooler. D, that's kind of crazy, man.
Yes, it is. I'm really excited to see the PC cards, because if the APU is doing 2.23 gigahertz, whether or not it's sustained or not, it's still getting up to that. So it is capable of reaching those clocks. It's pretty amazing. And much less in a console, I really want to know what Sony's using for their cooling solution. We know from like those leaks that apparently they spent more money, but like what the hell is it? Is it liquid? Like how are they achieving this? Like, how are they achieving this 2.23 gigahertz, man? It's pretty high.
Yeah. I want to explain this whole variability real quick before I throw it over.
I thought the SSD was doing the cooling for it.
No, the SSD is it acts as a third GPU. So basically, how the variability of the clocks works, a lot of people think it's thermal based, and that's what I was thinking initially as well. Turns out that's not really the case. They're doing something with Smart Shift, which a lot of people think is some kind of miracle technology. This is really meant for laptops, tablets, things like that, low power things. And PS5 will not be necessarily a low power product, but it does need a lot of juice to get the clock up that high. They have overclocked the hell out of that 9.2 chip that we've talked about from GitHub. That is the same chip. It's pretty much been confirmed that does start at a 9.2 and it ramps up to 10.3. But the way that the variability works isn't through thermals, it's actually through power limit or power target. So if a developer wants to get the most out of a GPU, they can clock it up to 2.2 gigahertz on the GPU side. And Cerny says it should largely hold that for the most part, but they'll have to underclock the CPU. So you'll never have a world where both the GPU and the CPU are at those targets, kind of like the competition, which is a little bit different. But it does provide at least flexibility with limited cooling solution and wattage in the box. So if a developer needs a lot of CPU overhead, they can underclock the GPU to get the juice to ramp the CPU clocks up to 3.3, 3.5 gigahertz. And then they can run the GPU at, I don't know, let's say 1800 megahertz, and you'd be down at around that 9 teraflop, I'll just say 9x teraflop mark. So you have a console here that you'll have a 9 teraflop PlayStation 5 on some games, but some others that need more GPU overhead, with very little CPU demand, they ramp the GPU up. You have a 10 teraflop PlayStation 5. It's a very interesting take, and it's all basically on a seesaw system, depending on how much power you need for whatever chip you need more juice out of. So if you balance them both at the exact same wattage and the exact same performance, you'll probably have like 3 gigahertz and 9.7 teraflops, for example. Yeah. So it's very interesting.
And Cerny also said in that presentation that every chip will work exactly the same. There'll be no variation in that. If you program it for one chip, they'll all act the same way. So that's pretty good too. But yeah, a lot of people need to realize that the CPU and the GPU are not both going to be clocked at their max speeds at the same time. So there is some compromise there. But regardless, I think 9.2 teraflops, 10 teraflops, I think PlayStation 5 games, they're going to look fantastic. Honestly. Yeah,
I gotta give a shout out to Darj Knight as well, man. Be safe. He says, have a great show, guys. Off to bed for me. Another lovely day lockdown in London tomorrow. Stay safe, man. Same to you, man. Be careful out there. Don't be like licking sewer drains and stuff. I know how you do. And that goes for everybody checking us out, man. Again, over 1,000 people watching already, guys. Hit that like button, share us out if you can. It's better off you stay inside, be safe. Unless yes.
We feel that the SSD drive will compensate for the lack of T-flops in the GPU.
Now, is that from Cerny or is that someone else?
I think that related? Is.
Well, since we have Cerny on the line, I want to ask Cerny, should we care about teraflops?
Well, first, I'd like to tell you about your ears. Ears are made for listening.
Fonz, you didn't have to do this shit, all right? We're sitting here explaining the PS5, how all this shit works.
I get it. But, at the end of the day, there is a weaker console, and that is the PS5, folks.
Well, the Lockhart. But I guess we'll have to get to that when we come to it, right? We'll talk about that, actually. Either way, though, I mean, Tim, you understand that they didn't they didn't do this whole variability system for no reason. Again, you will never see both those frequencies at 3.5 and 2200 megahertz. You're going to have to compromise on one pretty severely to get the other, or balance the two somewhere in between. And it's all because they don't have enough wattage and enough cooling, I would imagine. What are your thoughts on that solution? It's kind of smart. It does provide some flexibility.
Honestly, I think it's I think clocks. I had talked to some people within my channels or my sources, and they said Xbox actually looked at the solution that they're using, and what they found was that it was significantly slower, even though whatever they do. So they elected not to do this. They could have done the same technology. Honestly, I think 9.2 is good enough for where they stand. I kind of think this is a little bit of a PR thing. I mean, I'm not going to say that definitively, but like you said, I think you explained it very well about the seesaw and how if both are working at full capacity, it's like 3.0 and 9.7.
If you balance them in the middle with the same wattage a lot more.
Right. If you balance them, but I kind of prefer the Xbox take of stable clocks, and I just think they should have just went with that. If when you say you're going to say variable and up to, people are just going to attack that. So either way, if it was to try to get closer, I don't think it was a good idea, because nobody's going to take the 10.2 seriously. There's been several articles out now that's obviously question and explain it. I kind of think that they maybe thought that they could just put it out there and people would say, hey, it's 10.12. That's not what's happening here. People realize what's going on. People realize that that's not that's a theoretical number, and there's not really sustainability. So I just think they should have just went with the standard clocks, the stable clocks, and been okay with that. I think that would have been something that they could live with. I think they can live with this too. But obviously in real, when we see these games go up against multi-plats, extensive multi-plats, AAAs, I think the real story is going to be told then.
Yeah.
And I think there's a pretty sizable gap here.
Let me read this off real quick, D. But I do want to say that imagine if Cerny had gone out there and explained it differently, though. Like, look, you can have both of these, but you can never have them anywhere near maxed out at the same time, and you're going to have to balance and underclock the CPU like hell if you want to max this out. And you're going to have to do the same. You're going to have 9 teraflops if you want to max the CPU out, 9 point whatever teraflops. I just think
the devs already know that, don't they? They already know that.
They do, but and they
that's
knew
who his audience was, not gamers in mass bulk watching his tech talk like that. He was talking to developers, and that's why it was such a drive.
I mean, some developers weren't even really clear on it.
I'll be honest, that sounds like extra work for developers. Like, they need to figure out what they want to balance and keep going through it, and it just sounds kind of weird. Like, it sounds like he's putting a lot on the developers, or they're putting a lot on the developers to figure out how they want to optimize it, right?
Well,
like,
it is a compromise, I'm asking you. Certainly.
I'm asking you, dude. Like, do you think that's like something that the developers might not like?
Well, they do have to make a choice, yes. And I remember seeing quotes about this. Cerny was saying, you basically do have to make a choice. How much CPU overhead do you need? How much GPU overhead do you want, right?
Well,
so
giving them choice doesn't sound like it's extra work. It just sounds like they're given more choice. It's more options for the developers. So I think it'd probably be best for the developers to have choice in that regard,
Well, I mean, it's not best to have the system. Ideally, you have a clock like the Series X, and you just run at it, and it is all the capability it can get on both chips. But, I mean, they only have so much wattage, and they only have so much ability to dissipate heat. They're limited by those two things, so they make you choose where you want to put all the juice, right?
Dealer, just send us a pic of your ears. We at Sony would like to see a picture of your ears.
Well, what we need to address is, I hear a lot of people saying, well, the majority of developers are saying that the PS5 is more powerful than the Xbox Series X.
That's not true.
Can you address it? Because I've had people saying that all week long.
Hang on, let me get to Ken real quick. I don't want to miss this thing. Ken Martin, he says, love the show, keep up the great work. Basically, he can't wait for the Series X to to complement his CX OLED. I guess he's going to be one of those. Exciting year for gamers. Yes, it is. For 120 FPS games, yeah, you'll have some 120 FPS games, and I think Doom Eternal could definitely do that, provided whatever resolutions they want, etc. But you'll see them. We've also got we got Snake Eyes. You guys get a bunch of long ones. For those of us that are buying the Series X over PS5, what type of advantage can we look forward to as far as graphical features? I'll definitely get all of that, including back compat, etc. Thank you so much. And then we've got Daniel Dickerson. He says the Series X won't just be brute force. Yeah, I don't know why people keep saying that brute force machine, like the PS fanboys have claimed. It'll actually be more efficient according to what we know, and you guys can look this up. It has more RDNA 2 features confirmed for it than PS5. Things like VRS and machine learning are not confirmed for PS5. So it actually has more efficiency measures, features on the chip than PlayStation 5. It should be more efficient there, but I mean, Colt, you're right. They're saying people are running around because of Jason Schreier. And keep in mind, Jason's the one who told you PS5 is going to be more powerful pretty much this whole time. That are the same. And he's coming back and he's saying, well, several developers are telling me they're more impressed with multiple aspects of PS5 despite the specs. That tells us nothing about game performance, for one. And secondly, we had already talked about how Cerny said that development on this thing is going to be so much easier, and that's one of the things he focused on. I expect developers to like developing for the platform. I also expect them to like the SSD implement on the PS5. So that's two things they could be more impressed with right there. So Schreier's tweet is not specific. Meanwhile, we've got another developer that we're going to cover later in the show who says the opposite. He's spoken to multiple developers, and it's kind of crazy the difference. But yeah, go ahead, D.
Dealer, sorry, man. I've been going crazy in the forums, on Twitter, just with the media outlets. First of all, those studios that were saying, or those developers that were saying the PlayStation 5, they're so impressed by the specs, go look it up. Every single one of them was a Sony dev. Every single one of them, or an ex-Sony dev. Mm-hmm. So, like, right there, that tells you that alone. So I don't understand how. I'm not saying the PlayStation 5 is not going to be impressive. It's going to be impressive. Yeah. And you know what? I'll give Cerny half a point for his presentation just for the smoke and mirrors. He went again and did what he did with the PlayStation 4 Pro, confusing gamers with this 8 teraflops rapid path math shit, and he's doing it again with the with the variable clocks, right? And gamers are thinking, oh, it's more capable than it is, and with the SSD, the emphasis that they put on the SSD. Listen, at the end of the day, the PlayStation 5 is a less powerful console. It just is in every single way except the SSD. And Microsoft has Xbox Velocity in there. They got hardware in there to mitigate some of those things. And in practice, I don't think it's going to be actually much faster that the gamer can see, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, just accept the fact that it's a lesser capable console, but it's still going to produce great looking games.
We'll go over that. Yeah, but I gotta say, Aiden is disappointed. He's a little upset because he thinks the fanboy card is being pulled about the 10 teraflops. And Aiden, you just need to learn how to Google some stuff, buddy. They've literally talked about Smart Shift, and if you know what that is, the 10 teraflops that we just talked about, that I literally just said is sustainable, apparently, will be variable per the game. So you shift power limit from the GPU to the CPU depending on how much overhead you need on each. Meaning you may have a 9.5 teraflop PS5 in one game, but a 10.2 on the next, right? So instead of getting mad, pay attention and use Google. What were you saying, Fonz?
I was just going to say that, I agree with Dee that both these consoles are going to churn up some amazing looking games. I mean, look what they did with God of War with that 1.8 teraflop machine, they're gonna do what they do over there at Sony. But when it comes to the multiplats, I'm sorry, if these developers optimize and do what they got to do for both consoles, one should look better than the other, and that would be the Series X. It's that simple. But for me, the SSD drive, people are going on and on about how this SSD drive is going to change the game. This is the game changer. This is where it's going to change the way games are made, and they're using it in a way where the developers or anybody else that knows about it aren't really using it. Yes, it will change the way games are designed because that SSD drive is going to help them produce things, load in faster and stuff like that within the games. But they think it's going to produce some brand new mechanic or something in a game, and it's just not. This is purely on the dev level where it changes the game for developers. It makes it easier for them to do certain things while they're creating these games. And yes, they can make bigger worlds as well with the SSD drive. They've got that. Man, I forgot the name of it. But anyway, they got some. Xbox has a similar thing they're doing
velocity
too.
Architecture.
Where they basically can fit
Kraken.
more on the disc, or Kraken.
Oh,
Exactly, Kraken. The Kraken is not lacking with
Kraken is
the
like-
SSD. But yeah, I just feel like people are running with certain buzzwords and stuff that people are throwing out there, but they don't even know what the hell they're throwing out there.
Yeah. It's interesting. Guillermo Cabillo, he says, shout out to Dealer in the panel. Thank you so much, sir. Hey, Sean, I want your take. When you saw the PlayStation 5 and you kind of had an idea of what was going down, were you surprised that it was really kind of a wash when it comes to specs except for the SSD?
Not necessarily. I mean, I kind of, we've been talking about it for a while, and it pretty much exactly what we expected. The only thing I was
Hang on, you just said it's exactly what you expected? I mean, so many people were surprised by this, Sean. How's that possible?
I have no idea. I mean, people are still surprised.
It's almost like we've been telling everyone that this is what the chip that was coming in there, right? I mean, isn't that kind of odd?
I mean, everybody's choosing to forget the variable, and they just want to stick onto the 10.3, which is fine. But the
It's the
devs
same
out there are
chip.
saying it that
Yeah, same chip.
The one thing I would say, like, all right, I know we're talking about the specs and all that, and we get it. Like the Xbox Series X, like honestly, just it kind of like it's a great system that they have over there at Sony, but the Xbox Series X is on like another level to me. It's something different. They've taken a lot of time. They have a lot of, and it's not just like all the back end we talked about, all this stuff, the software they've developed on it, but it's also one thing that Xbox is actually fucking destroying Sony on is presentation. And Sony's like going up there talking about earlobes and like a bunch of other weird shit. And like, it's just kind of weird. Like it was boring. Like that's not for me. I don't know if you guys for years, for fucking beard's weird. But for me, it's for years, Sony's never been boring until a little bit like lately, the last year or two. Like it's just boring. Like Xbox is giving it to people to be like a spokesperson for them, right? Like they gave the Series X to a bunch of like YouTubers who presented it in a nice way and weren't afraid to talk about it. Like Sony's controlling every little fucking aspect of this that we only can hear what they want us to talk about. And that's the freaking SSD. What they know, they're like, okay, so that's the only thing we could concentrate on. Let's just stick on that. And all the freaking fanboys are just kind of sitting there going, well, this is what it is now. This is the standard. And it's like, no, you're an idiot. Just stop.
Zucker,
It's okay.
I mean, again, we had gone over this numerous times. Like, it reminds me a lot of the Pro reveal, right? Where they just didn't really talk about much.
Dude.
They were hiding a little bit, and then they focused on what they were kind of better with certain things there, which really wasn't anything that had an FP16 chip that the X didn't have at the time. And we said over and over, they're talking about the SSD because the one thing that they're better at. We expect them to have better loads, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the whole target now is just SSD. It's like, who gives, like, relax. Like it's okay. Like if it's less powerful than this, like everybody in this fucking panel is gonna still buy the PS5. And we're all going to play the
SSD's gonna give 30 frames per second more.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that people are talking about like one little like the SSD, but are third-party developers really going to use it to the max? Like, are they going to put more money into? Well, can they? Exactly. Like, I think this is more towards first-party development, which again, that's even better for us because that's all I play on.
But what if those games? Hang on, we got a big story that broke here recently, and I'm gonna compound off of that. But what if those games go to PC though? I mean, can they really develop for only 5 GB plus bandwidth SSDs and release it on PC and count on any sales there? Or will they not do that and sell more copies on PC as well? So we'll kind of come back to that. But Colt, you were ground zero on this. We all had a lot at stake here on power, stuff like that. And when they finally announced that number, and we know that it is variable, it was kind of an insane thing. What were your thoughts, kind of overall? You weren't here last week either.
I mean, I was a little concerned about what was going to happen. And then the night before the show, I say concerned because if the PS5 ended up being the same or more powerful, that it would just be unbearable to deal with people online. It's the way that people are.
Yeah,
but I mean, they're taking that L.
It's still unbearable.
They're taking the L right
by the door.
Yeah. So they're taking the L in power right now and what they claimed and they're fake insiders and they're still unbearable. But it's just interesting that it really is that 9.2 with a 10% boost up to 10 and 10.3. And
yep.
But I mean, people just don't understand. Like, I'm going to be playing 90% of the games that you'll have on PS5 in the best way possible, as long as the developers do their job
on the console.
And that's another thing that we've run into as well. Like, people are saying, well, look at the Resident Evil tech demo. It's like, well, I mean, we see that every once in a while. Like, once every 50 games, a developer will really do a half job of the
we'll come back to that, actually, because I'm going to rail.
Can I just say something real quick? Hold on, one more thing. Can I just say, for the last 15 minutes, we've been watching Dealer play this game butt-ass naked in this game. Like this, there's just been a new guy.
I didn't have the time to get footage, man, but I did have this stored up, okay?
Hey, man,
I didn't have time to get footage, but here's me playing naked.
Great footage for
but again, let me go back to the topics here. And Sean, very, very well put as you're slowly floating down a river with rose petals on the water.
Pick it up, Sean.
So CPU, GPU, I feel like I explained that pretty well. You have a situation where you're looking at, not thermal throttling, but they're going to decide how much power to send to what chip using Smart Shift. It doesn't mean anything other than they have the ability to balance that power budget, where they need it or whatever. It was really initially designed for laptops and smaller things, but whatever. It's also got 16 gigs of RAM, GDDR6 at 440 something gigabytes per second, I do believe, which is which is over 100 slower than just the 8 gigabytes of primary gaming RAM on the X. They've got the SSD, which developers are saying in Digital Foundry, talking about how it will change everything and all this stuff, and it could do this and that. And I'm thinking, like, you guys said that because the Xbox One would still have games made for it, and we're using pretty much primarily GPU scaling features on and off between the two, that it would hold back newer hardware. But something like an SSD with 5+ gigabytes of bandwidth per second, you're not going to talk about how nothing else is using that. PC isn't using this yet. Other consoles aren't using this. What are developers going to make a game for? This one hard drive or every single thing else, right? So You're not going to see developers really change anything unless it's only on PS5. And even the exclusives are really up for debate there. And we'll go into more on that in a minute. But they've already had several announced for PC. And if they're going to put any of that stuff on PC, would they really say, okay, you need a 5+ gigabyte PCI 4 SSD to play it, or you can't play it? That's a minimum spec. I really don't see that, for one. But yeah, it's kind of something weird there. And the backwards compatibility is another thing, right? They announced 100 titles, and we were like, man, that sucks. Then they said, we think and we believe 4,000 plus. And that turns out, if you read through it, I was excited on Twitter. I was like, yeah, that's great, man. I'm glad people can keep their games. Tim, they said they did not confirm 4,000 games on PS5 back compat. They kept saying they think and we believe we can do this, but and developers have to go back and optimize it if there are problems with it, unlike the Xbox, right? So what are your thoughts on the back compat?
Well, I think first of all, their messaging has been horrendous with this, because they first came out and they said majority of 100 games, and PS Blog came out, said that they're testing the games and we can expect them at a later date. So then they came out the next day and say, well, all of our games, majority of our games are going to be playable, but they did not specify if that's going to be at launch. They did not also specify, are we getting any kind of enhancements like Xbox is getting with HDR and some of these, the double grid games where they could take from 1080p and they could make it 4K just on the fly, or enhance it like they did with the BC games like Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption originally for 360. So the messaging from Sony has been awful on this. And I suspect it's because they don't have 4,000 at launch like Xbox. If you look at Xbox's messaging, Xbox is like every game. They're specific. They're saying everything. Sony's saying 4,000 games will be playable, but they're not specific. They're specifying a time. And originally they said that you can expect it over time. So how many games are you going to get at launch is going to be the question. What type of enhancements? Are they going to have any enhancements at all? What does it mean when your game is boosted? Like Cherney said on the top 100 games that most of them are going to be available. There's still a lot of questions. As one
I know what
person
that
said,
means.
as one person said, for a deep dive, that really wasn't much of a deep dive. I mean, there's still a lot of questions. Does it have VRS? Does it have VRR? Does it have ALLM? Does it have a lot of these features that Microsoft talked about? And you alluded to it earlier about how Microsoft already has these RDNA 2 features announced. Like, there's certain things with the Sony messaging. What my overall point is that they're just still up in the air. We did have this technical overview, but geez, there's a lot of questions still going now with the backwards compatibility. We're all assuming backwards compatibility for 1, 2, 3 are out of the question. So you're just going to get the 4,004 games. And how long is it gonna be at launch? My suspected thing is it'll probably be a nice number of them at launch, and then over time, just as Xbox did with 360, once they're tested and once they're certified, they'll be thrown out and they'll be put in the marketplace.
Who put the rumor out that it's going to be 1, 2, and 3? Like, all the systems were going to be backed up on PS5. Who the fuck said that? Because that's something I heard a lot before they.
Everybody said it.
No, it came originally from the guy that wears the belt.
Who?
He always wears
the
belt.
Yeah, belt guy.
Ric Flair.
I forgot his name.
Big Show.
No,
whoever said that.
Hip Hop Gamer.
Oh,
Hip Hop Anonymous.
All right.
It originally came from Hip Hop Gamer, which he said there was an engine that they were building. It was all full of shit. As we know right now, Sony insiders are absolutely full of shit. As I had my rant that day, and people were like, "Well, why are you going so off?" It was because I knew the whole time that they were full of shit.
Yep.
They didn't like old games.
Yeah, exactly. They don't like it, but we know for a fact that they're full of shit. But overall, on my own just original point on this, not to get too long, Sony has to do better with messaging. We still have questions about this.
Tim, I questioned that as well when they were talking about full backwards compatibility, especially with the PS3 and the cell architecture. I was like, there's no way. Like, they'd have to do some serious emulation or something going on there. And I just don't see them putting that much R&D into all that stuff.
They've only confirmed PS4 stuff, and the closest they come to confirming a number is that 100 that they said the first day, and I think they got a lot of backlash on that. And then they said, we think we can achieve 4,000. We believe that blah 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 blah. Developers would have to go back and optimize on games that don't run quite that well.
Forgetting why they don't back compat PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 games. Because they have PlayStation now.
No, they're doing hardware back compat, so that's why.
I honestly feel like their back compatibility is reaction. I think they didn't want to put back compat on PS5, and I think since Xbox is actually making it a known thing that this is like a feature that they want to just compete in it, so they're like, sure, and it just feels reactionary. Like, even the 100, only 100 titles, people fucking attack them, and then they're like, well, 4,000. It's like, what the fuck?
I guess we'll see. At least those games are getting enhanced.
He didn't stutter.
Hopefully.
No, Sony didn't stutter, but yeah, their GPU overhead now with the hardware back compat does automatically improve your frame rates if it's a dynamic. They're doing what the Xbox One X did without, to my knowledge, the 16x texture filtering and the enhancements like Xbox One X got some 4K games. The Series X now has automatic HDR on some games, which uses a heat map. It's very, very effective, up to 10,000 nits. Looks badass. They were playing Fusion Frenzy in HDR for example. Halo 5 never launched with HDR through the system and has it automatically. They've scaled. They got a auto resolution system wide feature that runs games at quadruple their native resolution. Right. So Gears Ultimate now is 4K. Right, that was never enhanced.
Well, let's kind of bring this back to Xbox as well, where I get, you even told me this, dealer, and I've had other PC guys that I know tell me the same thing. The SSD drive in the Xbox Series X is no slouch either. That thing is pretty darn fast, and it's going to do a lot of the same things you're going to see the PS5 doing with its SSD. So they have a lot of ways of mitigating that, right?
And I don't want to sound like we're. Honestly, we've only been pretty much ragging on this thing. It's not something we want to do. We've talked over and over about how we want both of them to be the best they can be, the best performance for your dollar for the consumer. But after hearing about the specs,
one came out weaker. It's kind of like it sucks.
I haven't said much tonight, but I have to fix one problem that we get a lot when we're talking about these specs. A lot of people say that we only want to talk about the specs and no games. Let me just clear up that neither Xbox nor PlayStation have talked much about what games we'll be playing next generation. Okay, Xbox has shown 3 or 4 games. That's it. PlayStation has showed 1 second-party timed exclusive that's also on PC. So relax about the whole. We don't want to talk about games. We'd love to talk about games, but right
we're
now,
talking about
where
several
we
games this
are
show,
coming
too.
up for next generation, we're not at that junction yet.
Yeah.
Xbox and Microsoft or Sony are not talking about games yet. That's coming.
Let me give a shout out to almost 1,900 people watching already, guys. Hit that like button if you haven't. Share this out for us. Helps out a little bit. We'll get past 2,000 tonight. We do appreciate it. Thanks for rocking out with us. Stay safe. Stay inside. Play some Xbox. Be a hero. We've also got Gamer by Choice. He says, I cannot wait for games running on both the Series X and the PS5. Xbox has me more excited about making older games like GTA 5, but of course the newer games as well. Thank you so much, sir. I'll try to get to these when I can. But listen, when it comes down to it, we want these games to be as best they can be, right? That's just the bottom line. And we want the hardware to be as best it can be for the dollar. And that's why I've always said, and I could be wrong, PS5, I've always expected $400. Series X, I expect $500, believe it or not. And in my opinion, that's just the way it's going to go down. It only makes sense that way for me, just like the 9.2 made sense for me. And, it's going to be a great console for what it is. It crushes the current stuff. Easy.
You said it was the PS5 was going to be 500?
No, I think it's going to be 4.
Okay. I think it's going to be 450.
Yeah, I think it might even be 470.
No.
Stop it.
I'm going to price this right, this bitch.
How about 437? Fuck it.
How about 480? Fuck
yeah,
you,
I just, again, man, I mean, PS5 would be capable, but it would be different had we heard these a little bit after Series X. But honestly, the PS5, it just doesn't have a single advantage other than that SSD that may or may not be leveraged. And we know it can't be leveraged on third-party games that run on PC. PC would be the lowest common denominator, especially after the original Xbox One, et cetera, are phased out, though you should be able to still play games on them for a year or two. But again, no RDNA features like machine learning, VRS announced for PS5 yet, and those are efficiency method features. People keep saying PS5 is the efficiency method. No, it doesn't have any of those features announced. So again,
overclocking isn't the efficiency method.
I've said it so many times that people just underestimate VRS. Variable rate shading, in all honesty, can increase the frame rates or improve the frame rates by like 30%.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
Also, another big advantage for Xbox, and I'm sure that you've heard, was that the fact that the ray tracing has more CUs, and it's just comparing 52 to 36. That's a pretty big deal. I think the Digital Foundry guy went into it about how it's just a bigger advantage. I think it's a 44% advantage.
I'll say this.
Over PlayStation 5.
I'll say this too about the ray tracing. They have the advantage with the DXR 1.1 API that's built into the brand new released DX12. Sony has to come up with their own ray tracing solution. So I think the developers pretty much just got to code to the metal and do this shit on the fly. And the less CUs in that system, it's just less capable. And I think Cerny kind of alluded to that, because if you watch his presentation, when it comes to ray tracing, he's like, yeah, we have ray tracing. You can do that if something you're interested in too. But the PlayStation, the engines work so good without it that you don't need to do it. Like it was like downplayed, like an afterthought. So
I'm kind of a little bit. I mean, we expected the 9.2 chip. They did get the most out of that. No one expected 2200 megahertz. We still have to see the box, but we didn't expect this kind of across the wall kind of. Sony had done these things like variable clocks and all the stuff to kind of get the most out of anything provided any given situation to provide flexibility. But there's a massive performance delta here, and we got more information on that coming too. But Geek in the Geekhead, he says, so PS5 won't have smart delivery system. Should in terms of delivering patches to your PlayStation games for sure. The Blue, he says, loving the show. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, sir. And we've also got Stodgy Caesar. Okay, he says, what more can these next gen SSDs do? Reduce loading times and suspend games we've seen on Xbox ? Well, that's the thing. You're gonna have better loading times for sure, but when it comes down to it, if a game is running on anything other than a PCI 4.5 plus gig second SSD, they can't really reinvent how games are made. They can't build games from the ground up to take advantage of that performance. That's the kind of thing that can hold you back, is that gameplay design type stuff. So
I think their first party games, well, obviously will take advantage of that. I think some third party games, because they're greedy, they'll want to take advantage of that, and I think we'll start to see a slow shift where some of these games on PC as well will require an SSD, perhaps not as fast as the consoles, but close enough. You know,
again, the Series X has a fast enough SSD to do just about everything that the PlayStation 5 is going to produce.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, people keep like glossing over the fact that it's a fast SSD drive on the Xbox.
Well, let me bring this up to Colt real quick, right?
Super chats too.
I know. I'm trying to keep it going here too. Colt, we just talked about that SSD and how developers could leverage it, even though it's pretty much we got a different developer, a pretty big one, that's saying pretty much the opposite. We'll get to that, but leverage the SSD, rebuild gaming, redefine what's possible, true shift, right? And then we get word today that the only on PlayStation logo or the little badge was just removed from God of War on their store on the PlayStation
I didn't know that.
website. Yeah, so that was actually sent to me, and I'll actually send this to you. But here's what it says. It says the only on PlayStation tag for God of War on the official US PlayStation site has been removed. We told you guys God of War, all this stuff was coming to PC. This is the same source as the Horizon Zero Dawn thing. All this stuff's coming to PC.
Oh my god.
So let me ask you, for 2,000 people, Code Eastwood, if games are coming to PC, which they're proving slowly that they are, how are first parties gonna plan for the 5 gigabyte SSD, 5 gig bandwidth? If they know it'll probably end up coming to PC, would they really minimum spec a PCI 4 SSD like that? Do you think?
No. I mean, the whole. I'm looking at the page now. It does not say only on PlayStation Anywhere for God of War.
Not anymore.
The only thing. Remember, Mark Cerny said if you're in like a valley and you're next to like a castle, and you go around the hills, like they kind of put that there on purpose for design, so that things can pop in behind you. And when you come into view, it's there. Like they will not have to do that any longer. That's something that only a first-party studio like Sucker Punch's next game or Sony Santa Monica's next game, if they choose to use that advantage for their first-party game. But if what Dealer's saying is if Sony starts to bring their brand new exclusives to the PC, minimum spec PC,
or even 2-year-old exclusives. God of War's 2 years old.
Keep in mind, guys, minimum spec PC in the next couple of years will be much lower than the PS5. I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but that's what I think. I already know right now that...
Like Sucker Punch.
Okay, I'm echoing.
Sony Santa Monica.
Yeah, because somebody's got their
Dave,
volume.
Yeah, that's weird.
Their volume.
He's like, I'll just hang my mic up on my...
Oh my god.
So anyway, right now minimum spec PC, on games. Yeah, it's interesting.
You're saying the minimum spec on PC is much lower than that SSD. How can they really build for that SSD then? If they're going to bring it to PC like they are God of War and all these other games, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. I mean, Spider-Man, by the way.
What you just said, a hardcore PlayStation fan is no longer, I'm talking about the super hardcore, they're no longer going to care about what that SSD can or can't do. Now they're worried that their last bit of bragging rights, Horizon Zero Dawn, and possibly God of War, are going to PC. Death Stranding is going to PC.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal.
I mean, we were told a long time ago that more and more of these games are going to PC, and God of War removed only on PlayStation listing today on the US PlayStation site. S. Vitterman Colt, he wants to know, and they're really damage controlling hard for this, and I don't understand it. Math don't change. You can't reinvent it, right? He wants to know, can anyone explain to me how audio takes up 3 teraflops now?
It doesn't, because I told you guys like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I told you guys 3 or 4 weeks ago that GDC planned talk was about the dedicated audio chip and Project Acoustics from Microsoft in concert with Dolby Atmos. Like, this is the 3D ray traced audio solution, and it's done with a dedicated chip. It doesn't take 3 teraflops away from a console to do reflected audio.
So what you're saying is that was bullshit, and
that was somebody trying to cover for the 3 teraflop delta of a boosted full top performance at full performance PS5, running against Xbox at its normal nominal performance compute.
Yeah, it was an article that was written by somebody, and unfortunately, it got a lot of play because there's a lot of conversating going on.
It was like what Dealer says. It was an article written on the web, and people think if it's written on the web,
it has some validity. Yeah.
Keep in mind, these same sites that were telling you that PS5 and the Xbox are going to be the same, or the PS5 would be more powerful. There were very few groups of people saying exactly what happened.
Well,
it's amazing how many of these guys are. I don't know. Element of Peel, by the way, he wants to know, or he said Sony seemed. He has something to add about the heat management. He said Sony seems so convinced about the balancing of the heat and the energy and consumption issues with the system. They were definitely concerned there, is what he said, and they're still trying to manage all of that, and maybe that's got to do with the final design for the system. Yeah, I just don't think they have enough wattage to overclock a chip like that on either side. The 10 teraflops looks a lot better than 9.5 or 9.2, so they definitely made it an option, and they came up with a solution to free up wattage from one side to the other. It's smart, but it's definitely, they're doing it because they kind of have to. What were you saying, Fonz?
I was going to say, look, I'm somebody who doesn't bleed green or blue. I prefer Sony PlayStation games. Kill me now, right? I prefer their games. They're exclusive games. However, when it comes to this whole power thing, I always run with a more powerful console for my multiplats. 99% of my gaming is multiplats. So, of course, that's where I'm going to be on the X. Now, the funny thing to me is I keep seeing this pop up in the chat and everything, and people are like, so-and-so says that the PS5 is more powerful. Or look, if anybody is still saying that the PS5 is more powerful, please backhand them, because it is not true. It's ridiculous. I mean, so even a layman can look at the specs and look at the numbers and just,
but you'll need to run them. That's just
coming up with. But if you listen to the PC guys out there, they'll tell you. And if they're honest, they'll even say it's better than their own PC, because it's better than probably 75% of gamers' PCs out there. That is how good the X and the PS5 are.
Yeah. I mean, unless you got a PC guy comparing it to a V6, then that's just dumb. So, hey, we got to give a shout out to almost 2,100 watching live guys. Hit that like button, share us out if you can. Helps out a lot. We do appreciate it. We've also got Snake Eyes, who basically say it's going to be okay, Sony fans. Listen to these guys. Do appreciate it, buddy. Sorry, I got to kind of gloss over it here. We've also got Xbox Battlegrounds, and shout out to Blastoise as well, who left a super chat. Nothing to say on it, though. Xbox Battlegrounds, I almost feel bad. No event in 2 years. That is true. Sony haven't done an event in 2 years. No game crap. No, they do have games. They got the games this year even. Last of Us 2 is huge. If it don't get pushed back, Ghost is huge. I can't talk shit about the games at all, in my opinion. Crap specs, I wouldn't say they're crap. I expect them to be cheaper. 17. Say what, Sean?
Yeah, those are great games. They were also announced in 2016 and 2017.
That's what I think he was saying.
So Sean's taking shots.
Well, he's saying no new games.
Yeah, I guess that is true. That is true. Shout out to AB as well in the Super Chat, loving the show. Of course, with Sony being able to task switch the same as Xbox. I have not heard of any quick resume features, Tim. Have you, for the PS5?
No, but I've heard that they have some type of exclusive, operating system features. I think somebody alluded to it, but I also read an article today that they had a patent that you can jump directly into a game or something like that, a full source game. I don't know, but they will have something. I'm not expecting them to have exactly the same feature set as Microsoft, but I think that they will have something which is pretty cool. I mean, a lot of people didn't really talk about it because of the power, but the ability to play 4 games and have them in resume is a pretty nice thing for a console. I mean, I heard you could do it on PC for a while, but just for a console, having it, 4 games booted up and, you can jump back and forth. That's a nice new feature that they're adding.
Yeah, somebody says talk about the 13 teraflop ray tracing course. That's not 13 teraflops worth of ray tracing. That's only if you don't have the RT, is what they're saying. You can push 13 T-flops with that RT hardware. It's a very specific example, the 25 T-flops thing I told people not to run with, but it is cool. I mean, we did cover that last week, but there's too much to talk about. We gotta kind of move forward. When it comes down to it, Sony did just confirm, and they didn't confirm. They just removed the only on PlayStation tag for God of War on the US PlayStation Store. Go check it out. See if it's still like that. It is when Colt just checked. And that's interesting at the very least. There's no reason they did that unless it's not only on PlayStation, right? So keep that in mind. Let me go ahead and skip forward as well. Again, Schreier saying that he's hearing from developers several aspects are more important for PS5 or more impressive. Has nothing to do with power or gaming at all. I haven't heard anything about that. That could be development. The SSD is definitely one of them. So just keep in mind, this is the guy that told you PS5 is more powerful from the get-go, and it wasn't. And
said it would be over 10. See, he's always been a hater of Microsoft, and the people at Microsoft know that he's been a hater. He's obviously said it many times. He hates big corporations, and he thinks anybody that's a fan of him.
But he doesn't like Sony, right?
Yeah, exactly. But he really in this, what happened with this really kind of showed what type of person he was, because when it was revealed, he went into total fanboy warrior mode. He's like, they're losing the power narrative. They're not talking about this, the things that they can do. Now, he obviously, from a technical standpoint, he doesn't have a high level. He doesn't really understand teraflops, and he doesn't understand GCN and RDNA. I mean, he made that obviously. Okay. He said that it was going to be over 10.7. So he was wrong. He, along with and everyone says. Yeah, he said he was. But listen. At the end of the day, all these Sony guys or all these Sony connected industry insiders didn't know shit.
Not one of them really.
And the Xbox guys, you can talk all the shit that you want. Man, they knocked it out of the ballpark.
Man,
they got
shout out to Foxy
right.
Games.
Shout out to Foxy Games.
Yeah, I mean, again, when it comes to there's definitely a landslide victory in terms of specs, and that will translate. Apparently, according to the developer, it's a huge gap. Manny Tattoo Artist, he says, PS only guys have the games argument. They certainly do. I do believe now. He says, I guess Microsoft acquired a bunch of studios, and he acquired a bunch of studios to do nothing, and and to mention more stuff like Bleeding Edge for next gen, but. Again, that same studio is working on Hellblade. Yeah, there definitely is an interesting kind of double standard there when it comes to that. Man, here's what I want to do.
But I have a source for the news.
I want to get to this. Yeah, okay. There's a Series X, what they claim to be a console exclusive. Colt, what's going on with this little 4K 120 FPS game that some people are hyping up for some reason?
Oh goodness, yeah. So the article said that new Xbox Series X exclusive runs at 4K 120 FPS from a developer named
Voltage Games.
Voltage Dynamic Gaming or something like that.
Yeah, nobody.
So I looked him up, and his last game was Pirates First Star, and it looks like something that Tim Schafer's team made back in 2006. Oh. And I know that sounds really rude, but what I'm trying to do is there was a whole bunch of Xbox fans that were super excited about the possibility. Is this Hellblade? Is this Forza? Is this Initiative's game? And unfortunately, that was like the product of a really great looking title, getting people excited about something that was probably going to disappoint most fans, I guess.
Yeah, there was.
It's Banjo, says QW Vampire. Banjo.
No, it's somebody was saying that it was impressive no matter what kind of game it was, and I'm like, well, let's just get Pong up there at 8K 120. Fuck it. I definitely don't think that.
I do think it is telling that right now, smaller type is coming out at 4K 120. I think you're going to get some of the smaller games like that. Don't expect the big games. You might see one or two games, but don't expect many games.
This reminds me of something that I was told on Twitter just the other day. I was told there's a reason why they showed that Gran Turismo in 8K 120. And I was like,
well, just keep in mind you could make
120 on that game.
You could make a game 4K 120 on the Xbox Series X. It has the hardware if you
No, I'm talking about 8K,
if you do certain things, and like if you have a really simple type of game, of course you could. Like somebody telling me, well, man, 4K 120, that's impressive, and that a dealer made the outreaching argument about Pong. Like you could take a game that is super simple, like Ori is a very beautiful game. And that game will run at 4K 120 on the Series X. So just keep in mind what that means.
What about Forza?
Yeah,
4K?
I think you could see Forza at 4K 120, and that's not far reaching. I mean, the one today does 4K 60 at Ultra PC settings, and that's been confirmed by Digital Foundry. Avis Plush, by the way, he says the article's talking teraflops. Don't say the whole story. Get the fuck out of here. You're right. You're right. Nobody's ever claimed teraflops for the whole story. That's why we also brought up the memory bandwidth, which is better, the CPU, which is better, and everything else.
Everything. The bandwidth is better all across the board except for the SSD. I want to talk about the Forza though. Forza right now on my PC, I get like 4K, like over 100 frames per second. I get a lot of frames, and I got like a Radeon 7, and the Xbox Series X GPU is it's more powerful than that GPU. So yeah, Forza could do 4K 120 easy, man.
Yeah, I mean,
well, I think. Listen, if I think there's a trade-off. If certain games are 100, but they're 1080p or 1440p, I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. Even if it's just that, you know what I mean. The problem is that many TVs don't support it. So don't expect. Don't expect you know, even if you have a C8, I don't think the C9, the C9, but the C8, which is an unbelievable TV, E7, which I have, none of those, they're up to 4K 60. Yeah. But in the end, I mean, listen, I don't know. I mean,
just up on the 4K 60 mode with ray tracing, right?
I have to upgrade my TV for next generation. There's I think I'm not going to take advantage of that 120 frames per second. I'm getting the CX, man.
Dude, I think only the LG 10s and the C9s are doing 4K 120.
B9 is
pretty much. Yeah.
Samsung, I think you're getting a patch, but hey, Lord Neater.
No, Samsung ain't doing it. No.
They don't only on the Q90, and they do it compromised. They do it with the lower.
That's what I heard.
It's trash.
Hey, Lord Niter says God of War. Yeah, the only on PlayStation logo is gone. Shout out to Assassin Lupa for becoming a channel member. Shout out to you if you want to become a channel member. Hit that join button down below. Zalker, you wanna say something? I know it's kind of a crowded area here, but I mean, they just basically removed the only on PlayStation thing there for God of War, right? You could kind of give a take on that. And then, of course, your favorite little 4K 120 FPS game that you're impressed by as well. And then maybe Bleeding Edge. We're going to talk about Bleeding Edge here in a minute as well. We got really great topics after that too.
Yeah, I was waiting for the Bleeding Edge.
Yeah, so I mean,
but like the God of War thing though, like I mean, I like at some point we just got to be like, it's normal. Like it's gonna happen, folks. The fuck over it. Like we don't have to keep explaining ourselves about it. Like Horizon Zero Dawn, Randall Thor the Fraud got it. Like he did good. Everything's just gonna happen. Like we talked about this like last January. About like, is it going to come? And it's like, yeah, like, I think they're going to put their stuff. That was when it was a little questionable, but at this point, just read the tea leaves, understand what's happening. The PlayStation shit's going to be coming to PC. That's just what's going to happen. And as for like the 4K, like what games are going to be on there right now, plain Doom is fucking smooth. I want all games to be like that. Like just amazing on the freaking X or whatever you want to play on. I just want good frames. I want good performance. And next generation is going to give us that consistently. So I can't wait till it just starts. Like honestly, like we're just like in this wait period of these new consoles, and and playing PlayStation on PC. That's what we're on the wait period for. There you go.
So well, I mean, okay. So when we get to Bleeding Edge, and again, we got some great topics added. We do want to throw this in here. I've been very vocal. I'm not excited for Bleeding Edge. That doesn't mean that it's trash or that it's not for you. You're allowed to like what you like, but right now there is no Metascore, but there is a user score of when I last checked 5.2. Now, some of you, we're not saying it's the end all be all, but we are informing you of what people are rating it right now, and I'm sure some of that's some bullshit zeros. Anytime you see zero, just write it off. I don't think there's any game that's a zero.
I think they fucked up. with Bleeding Edge, the release date. Like, I'm sorry, I'm someone that would play Bleeding Edge. Because I like playing competitive games, and you guys know that I play multiplayer. I love playing competitive games. Even I'm not playing it right now because of fucking Doom Eternal. Like I'm stuck on Doom Eternal. Like I fucking love the game.
It's so
good.
It's
like, and there hasn't been like a big game that's come out in so long, right? Like we've been kind of in this drought, and it's like now it's like Doom Eternal comes out, and you're just ripping demons' faces off, and you're like, dude, hell yeah. It's like I'm not gonna stop and like to play Bleeding Edge just yet. Like I think they could have postponed it a little bit or brought it out a little earlier, right? Like. Just something that could have subsided that, and they didn't, and that's on Xbox or Ninja.
I'm glad they didn't. I mean, there's no reason to wait until like the end of the spring. Like, I don't know.
I guess it is because it is an evolving game. They're going to keep it like putting more stuff into it, new characters, new maps. Like I get it. Like maybe they just want to get it out so they can finally start rolling with it. And I know I think didn't they say like 6 people started making it, and then now it's like only like 15 to 20?
12 or 15. But I also have been pretty vocal that I don't want Microsoft to let developers put out games like nearly complete and say we're going to add so much to it. It's like, no, just work on it another year.
Yeah.
Like I've been hooked on State of Decay. I didn't even really love State of Decay 2 when it released 2 years ago. I've been playing it this past month. I absolutely love the game. And I think I would have felt a lot better if they would have put this game out in 2020 with all the stuff that's in it and with the graphics overhaul. Like, put this out. This is what you need to do. And I'm hoping that's what they're going to continue to do with their game studios is say, we're ready now, but we can add more to it. No. Hold on to it for 6 months or a year. Then put it out.
I would say, like, I understand what you're saying, but like, you don't want them to bring out games that, like, they keep adding stuff to it. Like, you want a complete game, and I get that. Like, I think everybody knows I love Sea of Thieves. Like, they should have brought out way more content with it when they launched. But I have to say, the new content they've been bringing out. I just finished the whole new Hearts of Rage or whatever it's called. That new content on Saturday. I played it for fucking 9.5 hours and did like the whole tall tale, did everything on there, and had a fucking blast. Like, you guys need to check that out. Xbox is supporting their games. There's a lot of content in there for you to do.
Which they really needed to on that one, especially.
Huh? And you're right,
so
Zucker.
they really needed to on that one, especially. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, you're right, Zucker. I agree with you 100% because I do like that they support the heck out of their games. Like, Undead Labs isn't just sitting there. They've added a lot of really cool stuff. They added the extra horde mode, the Daybreak thing. They did the expanded maps, and they've added different things to make the game make you come back.
Like, there's like more problems in the Juggernaut edition now. Like,
yes, it still has some of the persistent bugs, and the peer-to-peer thing is a problem.
It's fucking bullshit. The game's been out for fucking years. Like,
it's been out for 2 years.
I don't care if they're inherent engine-based problems. Fucking fix them. Like, you want to go and you want to enjoy those games. Like, I enjoy State of Decay 1. I like 2 because it's better than 1 in every way. But at the end of the day, I can't fucking play it unless I crank my gamma all the way down to 0. Or else everything's washed out. Like, there's a gamma bug. There's all kinds of bugs that were in the base game, and there's new ones.
You can't ride in a car in co-op. You get kicked off of your peer server. Stuff like that sucks.
Well, that's State of Decay, and I would say, like, Sea of Thieves literally has had no fucking bugs for as long as I can remember. And you're talking to someone that plays it a lot. There's no bugs, people. Like, I haven't ran into anything.
They just need to fix State of Decay. They need to fucking fix it. It's ridiculous. It's time. It's been years. Stodgy Caesar, by the way, Fonzarelli says, why do you think the PlayStation 5 isn't being shown? Where's the console? Why haven't they shown it yet?
Oh, that.
You know what? I asked you that too. I was like, is it possible that they just don't have a final design? I mean, because they're working with this expensive cooling system and everything. Maybe they just don't have that all ironed out yet.
If they don't, they're in fucking trouble, dude. Like,
well, I think they do. If you remember in 2013, they showed the specs earlier in the year, and then at E3, they revealed the box. Because the specs and the thermals all come from the box, pretty much. Yeah. What can you do with it? So
yeah, but
they know
the reason why they probably didn't show it is just because maybe they're, it's Sony, man. They do some weird stuff sometimes. They just take their time on shit. Like, I know they want to push the games out that are coming out right now for the PlayStation 4, but everybody wants to see that box for the PlayStation 5. Everybody wants to see it. So I don't know, man. Maybe, you know what? They're going to save it for someday when Microsoft puts something else out there. They're going to say, oh, but look at our box, and show it off and try to steal the limelight.
Hey, Bookster, he says, oh my God, I'm so glad. He's going savage mode on this one. So glad Sony will force PS5 fans to pay $60 for exclusives because offering 100 plus games and Xbox exclusives day one is bad for games. Sarcasm, yes. It's kind of broken
since
logic.
They can't bring a game like God of War day and date since it's already out, do you think Sony will put it on Steam and give all digital PlayStation owners the game for free on PC? Like Microsoft does?
That's something we had wondered as well. Would they do the play anywhere kind of pro-consumer thing?
They can't do that. Like, because the way Xbox does it is
they don't have their own store.
They have their own marketplace, so you'll get the game for free on their marketplace because you already paid them, right? Steam, if they get it for free on Steam, they need to front that bill to Steam because Steam is storing it on their shit.
Well, so Sony will do that because they're really pro-consumer, right?
They're doing it all for free, Cole, aren't they? Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
we are
Yeah.
kind of ragging a little much
No,
in this
I'm
show.
not.
Honestly,
I don't
we're
know.
going pretty hard.
It's just weird. Like they've been ragging on Xbox games going to PC, but most of those games you get for the price of one, you get both of them, and they're cross save, cross play, cross compatible, and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. But oh, and shout out to somebody in the chat here that said AA batteries for AA games. It's
a
so
good one.
funny. I just have to question someone's intelligence when they think that a AA battery well in a controller is anywhere near a bad thing. And it is absolutely the best feature of a way to power your controller.
You really
it gives
think?
you the most options. It
I
gives
don't
you
like
the
it.
best options.
It does give you
can
options.
plug it
yeah.
in just
I
like a
don't like it,
PlayStation
though.
controller.
I'm ready to get rid of them myself. Let us know what you think in the chat.
No way. Come
Nope.
on.
I'd
D's
rather
like,
have
I
it
love using the
Here's
batteries up and put slap
Here's
it
my
on when they're
argument for
empty.
that. You can get a play and go battery pack that you put in there, and it will effectively act as if it has an internal battery. When you want to charge it, you just plug the fucking USB in, charge it just like a
or cradle it. But the problem, D, that I agree with the battery haters is that you have to foot the bill for the battery packs.
Yeah, you do.
And now I said a while ago that Microsoft needs to do the right thing and throw in just the one battery pack in with the controller. But that's that could be $3 on their end and add to the price, and maybe it's like past the
I
threshold.
mean, Sean is like
millions of
a
dollars.
design artist, right? Like Sean, what do you think about the fact that in 2020 you got a double A battery well?
Yeah, I don't
I
like it.
personally like AA batteries, but I buy them bulk, obviously, and I do have a PS4. I play it, pretty often when there's a new exclusive out, but it dies. Like if I'm not using it, it just sits there and it dies. And usually I play pretty sporadically, so I don't know when I'm gonna play. And then when I pick it up and if it's dead, then it kind of kills it for me.
Well, I mean, hey, they've shown that they can have those internals run for 40 hours straight with the new Elite 2. Like, battery technology doesn't have to be stuck in 2013 is what I'm trying to say. What if they came out with one that kind of lasted a lot longer, it gave you more of a warning, and I don't know. I get it. Options are great.
If the battery life was like the Switch, then I'd be if they improve the battery life.
And then what happens if it dies? Like what happens if the charge dies?
You plug it in?
Controller die. Yeah, you have to play with controller.
But the Switch is built to cradle and charge those things. Like
I like your approach, Colt. Just put a plug and play battery pack included with the controller and the story. Everybody's happy. Win-win.
Yeah, because if you do have a plug and play, it's the same thing as the PS4. You can just remove it and do other options like Cradle and all that stuff. Hey, Manny Tattoo Artist says, reminder, Sony don't usually have a lot of software at the beginning of generations. Fanboys are they're betting on having God of Wars and the Horizon Zero Dawns at launch. Maybe one at launch to impress. Xbox will, so everyone should be happy for next gen. Yes, I mean, right now,
I think
Xbox
Horizon Zero Dawn. That's all I
Xbox
think.
have Halo confirmed, but right now, keep in mind that it's a possibility that all this stuff could kind of get pushed back, right, Tim? I mean, entire studios are not allowed to go in; they're kind of working remotely from home. Like, how do you think that'll affect games being developed? I mean, we even heard Last of Us 2 could get delayed again. This could definitely affect things like Halo, etc.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, but that's just to see how far this virus goes. If the virus, and if we're talking in a month and everyone is locked down, then we're in major trouble. But if we get this under control, then no. So that's up in the air. But a lot of delays and things that don't want to happen are a possibility. And at the end of the day, you really can't get mad because people come first, and that's the bottom line.
I think it's more to do, as a person that's worked on software, I think it's more to do with the physical. Like, people are not going to be able to go to buy the game at a GameStop or whatever because they're essential. I think that has more to do with it.
Shit.
Because people develop shit at home all the time. People work from home. Like Moon Studios that made Ori, they're entirely a remote team. They're all 80 of them live across the world, and they make the game all remotely. They meet up once a week. Apparently, I read this article about them. They meet up once a week, and they just go with their families and have vacation that the company fronts, and that's it. So they can do it remotely pretty fucking effectively, especially with things like Slack or something like that. Like all these programs that help you develop easier remotely. So they're probably going to move to that, and then when they can get back in, they can obviously kick things in gear. But again, I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
Also, Zoc, I want to ask you, because I know this is kind of your field as well. Some of that, if they're quarantined or confined to their home, some of that equipment that they need or some of those rigs, they can be shipped out to them as well, right?
Oh yeah, like I mean, where I work, where people are taking shit with them, they have to. So we help them do that to set it up and optimize it so it can work on their network at home and all that stuff. And they VPN in, and that's it. And there you go. Like that's all you got to do. Like you just have the stuff at your house and you just work from home. Like I don't know if you guys even like the guy, the head guy at Rare, Duncan. He's working from home and he has all his stuff set up. So he like posted a picture of it saying, "All right, ready to work from home." And that's just how it is. Like you can get shit done. Yeah. You could call people.
Productivity plummets by 5,000%.
Yeah,
gaming
Halo,
up 30.
Infinite delayed infinitely.
Hey, David Robinson said, "Whatever happened to options? Options are good." Yeah, you're right, and that's the only reason I'm not really railing on the battery thing. Like it is pretty much the same once you get the pack and you put it in there. It's just the cost, right? So it's interesting. I don't know. It's not like something worth really going all in on. But at the end of the day, there's so much more to talk about, and we do got to still give a shout out to over 2,000 checking us out, guys. Hit the like button if you haven't, and share this out. Trying to get more topics to more people here. I don't want to kind of go back and forth. We're kind of got a little break here, but Bleeding Edge right now 5.2 user score. I didn't get a chance to play it yet, but I will, and I'll come back next week. Let us know what your thoughts are in the chat and in the comments about the game. But honestly, I'm looking forward to some bigger titles like Halo and some other stuff that might come out later. Ubisoft digital event is being planned to unveil new games. Basically, their E3, they'll be doing it digitally as well. Just figured I'd throw that out there before we jump into Xbox Lockhart information, or talk rather, because there keeps popping up with these APU leaks.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed. These APU tests keep popping up with 7/8 teraflops, and people are like, "Is this Lockhart?" And it's like, no. Like I'm almost insulted at this point that people listen to shows still want to believe Lockhart isn't 4 teraflops like we said, but it is 4 Navi. It's faster than the Xbox One X at 6 GCN, and Digital Foundry have tested 4 Navi on their channel, and that's RDNA 1, by the way. They were running Wolfenstein 2 at 1080p 144 frames. Not consistently, but you get what kind of power this is. This is not some chump change shit, right? The weakest part of Lockhart will probably be its RAM at 8 gigabytes, I do believe. And again, will they do the SSD system, Tim? I mean, this keeps popping up at the end of the day.
Yes. I would think that they would do the same, everything the same, a little less RAM, and the price would be obviously cheaper. I do think that they will share the same.
People
SSD.
keep comparing it against like the X too, which it is better than in pretty much almost every way, but it replaces the S, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I think that you're not going to have, when this all gets released, the X and the S are going to be phased out. They will still be supported, as we know, for a while. But you're going to have two choices: an Xbox One Series X, which I believe will be $499, and if they can get Lockhart to $299, that's going to be pretty impressive.
Yeah,
if it's if 4 flops, 12 gigabits, that type of deal. It might not have some of the features. It might not have resume. I don't know. Not resume, or the 5 suspended games. It might not have everything that the Series X has, but I do think from a technological standpoint, it will be of the same family. So it will share the same RAM. It will share the same Zen 2 CPU technology, which in the end of the day, what's really going to scale is going to be the resolution. So I don't think it's going to be that hard of a thing where they're going to have to develop for. I think it's something that Microsoft has built into their API where it just scales down.
It's kind of crazy because you get people that don't understand why they would ever do a Lockhart, and they're sitting there playing their Xbox One S. Now, how come this is so hard to understand? Right?
Well, it doesn't even matter. The person that's like, why would I need a Lockhart? It's not for you.
Yeah.
It's not even for you at all. Why are you worried about it? That's so weird. Like,
what are you worried about, guy?
Like, I wouldn't say what dealer said. Like, why are you playing on the S? Like, they're probably not. Like,
no, I'm just saying, like, I'm just using it as an example. Like, it's being done today, guys. Like, this is the low-end new generation Xbox that is going to actually be able to deliver a lot of these features, and it supposedly has an SSD and all that, right? So it does bring a lot for what should be $300. I mean, that's just the bottom line. 8 gigs of RAM is the biggest limitation I see, but that's not really including, and that's not confirmed, but that's what I'm hearing. That's not including the virtual memory from the SSD system they have, right? Using the Velocity architecture. So they could actually have more space for assets than that. And they have compression methods to speed that stuff up from the SSD to the RAM. So at the end of the day, we just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Like, we keep seeing this pop up. To our knowledge, that's definitely not it. It's 12 for Target, might do just over 4. PS5 ray tracing audio. Mark Cerny called out by Dolby Atmos. Who exactly? Who? Okay, so who exactly looked into this?
Everybody, but just let Colt do it.
I didn't look into it. I just saw the embarrassment.
That one. Basically, Dolby called out Mark Cerny for his 32 objects that are that's a maximum for Dolby, and he actually debunked all of it. And in fact, he goes into I don't have it up on my screen, sorry about that, but maybe Cole can look it up. But he goes into all the ways that Cerny was wrong in his presentation. He was like, actually, we were the pioneers for this feature that Cerny's touting about. And the 32 objects, no, we can actually do more than 32 objects, but developers told us to keep it to this level because it starts to mess with everything. It doesn't sound as good. It's too much of a distraction. So developers actually told us to tone it back, but we're actually capable of this. And yeah, it was pretty damning, man. Honest to tell you, it was like a scolding.
I never lied.
Well, audio is probably not Cerny's forte, according to that.
Well, Sony's forte is audio. I'm not going to deny that. Sony has fantastic audio.
I said Cerny, Mark Cerny's forte.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They should have at least had some of the details. Someone should have passed them.
It was fucking pre-recorded.
Damn.
They should have fucking
that's true.
You just think they'd be like, oh, Cerny, yeah.
Not to rag on the guy because he obviously is smart. Like, I'm not going to rag on him in that sense, but at the same time, he does say a lot of misleading statements. Like, I hate to bring up the past, but he did this once again with the PlayStation 4 Pro and the 8 teraflops of rapid pack math, when in actuality it's just for like fucking little shits, and it needs precision. Whereas when Microsoft brings up their rapid pack math, which is in the Xbox Series X, they clearly say that it's not really for graphics. It's more for the Microsoft machine learning AI. And because it's for the Microsoft machine learning AI, it doesn't need to be precise, right? To do its thing. So I don't know.
In my defense, I tried to DM Dolby, but I DM'd the wrong guy. I DM'd Thomas Dolby, and I got it wrong.
She blinded me with science.
Okay, but I told Dolby, send me a pic of your ears, and we'll look at
Oh man! No, when he did say that though, I was like, "Yo, this guy wants a pic of your ears." Damn.
I mean, I is it that he maybe misspoke, or maybe that he was just off a little bit? I mean, Mark Cerny's a smart guy. He's just misquoted by the fan base.
I think he knew what he was saying from a marketing standpoint. To be honest with you, because that was his emphasis. That listen, we can produce way more sound than Dolby Atmos. They don't even come close to us, basically, is what he was saying. When that turns out not to be the case, once again with his presentation, like, I don't want people to think I'm ragging on the PlayStation 5, but it's just all these guys out there spitting this false information when he clearly stated in his own presentation that CUs don't matter. You can't worry about the CUs. It doesn't matter about the teraflops. And like, I don't know. It's a lot of marketing talk, to be honest with you, man. Smoke and mirrors, in my opinion.
I mean, what do you think about that, Tim Doug? Tim Doug.
I'm here. Yeah. No, I like Cerny. Do I think he purposely was misinforming? No, I just think that he probably thought that. I do think that if the shoe was on the other foot, they definitely would be talking differently. Put it that way. And if the shoe was on the other foot, they wouldn't be doing variable frequency because, let's be honest, we came up with the 12, or we were one of the first. You with the video that you put out. If we had came and Monday came and they did a technical breakdown and the number was 12 with the variable frequency at its top, throttle, whatever you want to call it, a smart shift, you would be absolutely murdered, and all of us would be murdered. They would say that that's a cheap way of getting to it, and I think that still prevails even with you know, with Sony doing, and I think people look at it and they don't take it at face value, even if it is theoretically true. It just doesn't. People just don't see that. They see it as an excuse, or they see it as not, you know, as fixed. I think once you go fixed, it's just easier understanding. And so yeah, if the shoe was on the other foot, they would be talking differently. There's no doubt about it.
I just it's crazy how many people in the chat like have to write stuff that's common sense. The specs are impressive, but until we see the game, you know. But we, at the end of the day, we got to go through the specs. We got to talk about the games that we have heard about, and we're going to talk about more, by the way, in the show. But you know, hey, this is
anybody
this
that
is
types that,
interesting
if you haven't seen any of our videos, obviously not. We say that, yo, Xbox, you got the specs, you got the hardware, good shit. You knocked it out of the park. Now make the games for that fucking hardware.
Or that, or tell Microsoft to announce some games. We'll talk about that shit. You know.
Yeah, like anything. Like we criticize everything. Like, that's just what we do. Like, sorry. Like,
hey,
sorry.
Hey Ryan, you'll be taking an L in the chat there on Lockhart, but you know you're allowed to have your opinion, buddy.
You know, I just wanted to make this point for somebody that was in the generation through the thick and whatever you want to say, through the thick of it, last generation. The difference in what people are saying now, especially Sony fans, and what Microsoft's saying now, it's completely flip-flopped. The last generation, teraflops was put on a premium, put on a pedestal, was mentioned all over the places, a percentage talk of how much faster and more powerful PlayStation is. So for somebody who's been through both of these generations, where I've been on Twitter and I've been through all of it, it is bullshit. Most of you guys are singing a different tune now. Because the last generation, when PlayStation had the power advantage, you wouldn't shut the hell up about it. And I'm talking about every single day, article every single day. Any developer that would reiterate that they were stronger, they had more teraflops, they had this advantage. It was all over the place, and it was magnified to the umpteenth degree. So all this talk now of these don't tell the stories. You didn't have that same energy last generation, so...
Now, you know what? They won't have that same energy when Lockhart's revealed at 4 teraflop Navi. They'll say, only 4 tera, only 8 gigs. Well, what happened to... There's more to this than the paper. You know, so definitely use this against these guys when Lockhart is revealed. You'll hear it all day. Only this, only that. And tell them, well, it's only on paper, remember? That's going to be the perfect way to dismantle that. Shane Bailey says Lockhart 0% $0 up front, $30 a month for 24 months. Xbox All Access. People forget that is a thing. That's a good point, Shane. Colt, would that be something, or Sean even? Would that be something you would even do? Is at least something like that for maybe another room? Both
I wouldn't do it because I'm going to buy it, and then I would just like for me, I'm just taking my Xbox One X and giving it to my family, putting it in the room because they're not going to go crazy with shit, and then I'm going to take the Series X. Yeah.
Shadow Raffinger is saying, hey, don't worry about that 4T flop Navi, 50% improvement over RDNA 1. I've explained this a million times, man. It's at least the performance of the X and the GPU. We won't go over it again, but yeah, I mean, definitely the number will be deceiving. It'll be interesting to see how they market that. And then we've got also Aaron. He says, Death Stranding, disappointed story. I don't know. I didn't beat
Sony. Disappointed Sony.
Oh, disappointed Sony. Sorry, my bad.
I think that's what he said.
My bad, Cody Eastwood.
They got disappointed in their sales, I guess. That's what that one article was saying.
Yeah, sales were bad. After the first few weeks, it dropped off the charts, man.
Yeah,
I wonder why. Maybe because the game was flat out boring, people.
Very boring. You know, I tried hard to get through that game, and I think I got maybe...
Are you talking about
4 hours, 5 hours, and like as a nerd, like I looked at it as like, oh shit, this is beautiful. The HDR is pretty good. Oh, I like the environment, but the gameplay was garbage. It was
Sony also expected something different from what Kojima was looking to deliver with all those trailers. They expect something darker and more horror or scary like, and Death Stranding didn't really do that. So, it kind of goes against my theory that Sony keeps a close eye on their first party development and does a lot of QA QC. It kind of seems like they didn't know what Kojima was doing, or they gave him a blank check and they weren't super happy with it. I don't know.
To be fair to Sony, even if they were watching him with a close eye, I don't think they would know what the hell he's doing.
Maybe, yeah. I don't mean watching with a close eye. I just, when I look at the first party titles from Sony, it looks like Sony Interactive Entertainment has like a really nice quality control presence with their games.
That's not a first party game, is it?
Well, I mean, no, it's not. You're right, Zucker. It's not a first party game, and maybe that's why. But why would Sony be disappointed with it? It's going on PC.
I mean, more and more, as we talked about earlier, God of War potentially heading that way as well, as we had been talking about. Eric saying what I've been saying this whole damn time: PS5 400 and Series X 500. Again, I mean, where are we on that? Anybody switching sides? Anybody? You still there?
I'm back and forth on it.
What are you at right now?
I'm not at 450 or anything. I'm just half and half, where I think it's 500 and then I really think it's 400. I just can't make up my mind. You know, when I look at different things, like, man, that is a $400 console.
So,
and then I'm
like, at 400.
What's that?
You're at 400. You said.
I'm half and half. I think it's either 400 or 500, and I can't make up my mind.
You know, all the big sites and journalists I've seen that even quote prices say like the Lockhart's going to be 400, the PlayStation 5 is going to be 5, and the freaking X can be anywhere between $600 and $700. They're saying.
Right, I know.
And I just don't believe that.
I say the PlayStation 5 is going to be $479.99, and the Xbox Series X is going to be $500. I know it's pretty bold, but I don't know. For some reason, I think that's what's going to happen.
Go bold, D.
I don't see Sony trying to lose money on this console, and I think they're gonna put some confidence in their fan base that they'll go out and buy the console. And I know a lot of PlayStation 5 guys, like, they're in denial that the console's less powerful right now, so they're gonna go out and buy it.
Sony does not release a console like that and undercut themselves. They always try to make a profit. I'm telling you, they're gonna try to make a profit here. It's gonna be like 450, I believe. And the X, the Series X, I think they're gonna try to hit it at 500. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I've heard that 499 is the goal for Xbox. Whether they get there, who knows. But for Sony, listen, you have to realize that SSD, as good as it is, it's going to cost money. So I think the Bloomberg report, where their bill of materials was over 450, also with a couple of people that are in the know, where they're saying that Sony's around that number. I think that it's a telling sign that it's not going to be 399. So I'm in the above 400 area. Where they're going to land, I don't know. It's possible they both are 499, and to be honest, if that's the case, I still think Sony's going to do well because they have such a strong following.
Bro,
and such a strong
if PS5 comes at the same price as the Series X with that kind of delta, holy shit,
that'd be bad.
Well, I guess we'll see. But like Grounded Gamer said, I'm around where he is, maybe 450. The only thing is that. Has there been a device that's been released or a console that's been like in the middle like that? Usually it's no. I've never seen that. So
yeah, and I had explained the logic behind the 400 is that, like, their CFO talking about they need to get the price down and keep the price under control, and it's like they're not doing that so they can make $80 a console, something that's never really been done before. They're trying to get it down so they can get close to 400 as possible. That's where they probably are targeting that.
But here's the thing, dealer, with what you've told me, with what all my other PC friends have told me, with the Series X, I wouldn't be shocked if it hit a $599. Like, I'm not expecting that, but if it did, I wouldn't be upset.
Oh, it's definitely worth it, yes. But as of right now, given that everything remains the same and the virus stuff don't really play a key role there, apparently their production is back and up and running, according to Microsoft. I don't know if you guys heard about that. So they are actually working over there and producing stuff again because some stuff cleared up. But it's pretty interesting. Yo, Donnie, Quezada, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. Again, man, I mean, it could go a lot of different ways, but we've been kind of saying it for a long time. Hopefully it comes out that way. Mark Cerny, I think, is a smart guy. Maybe he just misspoke or something in terms of Dolby coming after him like that. Was it a direct shot?
Okay, so I looked it up.
It was a direct shot, yes.
The Wii and the Wii U both came out at $349 and $249 respectively.
There you go. $349, $249 for the Nintendo. One of them very successful. Nobody played it. One of them not very successful. Had exclusives every single month. No one bought it. Resident Evil 3. Demo, disappointing performance. What the fuck is happening there? This game looks phenomenal, Cody Eastwood, but apparently it's running like trash. And I got exposed for saying that it ran 60 FPS because I couldn't tell because variable refresh rate was on my C9, and it's a pretty slow-paced game, and the demo's like 10 minutes, and I couldn't really tell if the performance was all over the place because of that.
Fraud.
Yeah, I'm such a fraud, right? So
Such a fraud.
Console
That
war
C9,
court is now
man.
in session.
console war core. I mean,
You know what? That
these guys.
C9 has corrupted your brain.
You know
How
what?
dare you?
That's the
use
first
VRR.
time. That's the first time where VRR is like really, I guess, played a real key. Because, like I said, it's kind of a slow game.
That's great.
You're not running around real quick and stuff. So I played it for like 10 minutes, made it through the demo, and I've got variable refresh rate on. So my TV's refreshing when the GPU tells it to, and there's no real tearing or anything. It's really smooth, even at a fluctuating frame rate. And I'm sitting here thinking it's 60 FPS or close to at the speed I'm walking around. And, motherfuckers is acting like they got some shit on me. It's like,
I want a C9 now just because of that. I want a C9. I want my games to feel
I'm
like
not
that.
playing any of those games and offering my opinion on frame rate unless VRR is off from this point on. But, idiots like Hard 8 want to try to talk shit and act like they got some leverage or something. Shut the fuck up. Resident Evil 3 demo, disappointing performance. Not sure why this is happening. They just say it's running at 4K. I believe it's interlaced 4K, while the Pro is running at, what was it? Anybody remember?
1620?
Yeah,
1620, and I believe that to be interlaced as well. But the X is not nearly as optimized, apparently. The demo was running pretty poorly in the grand scheme of things. And what are the odds, Cody, with the final game runs like this?
I wouldn't think very likely the way Resident Evil 2 from last year runs. It runs great.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know. It's one of those things. It's funny because I was bringing that up earlier in the podcast. That they say that, the Xbox performance on paper, blah, 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 blah.
It's the same engine.
What you guys mean to say
It's the same
when you're
engine,
talking
yeah.
crap about how a game performs on the Xbox One X? What you mean to say is the developer didn't do their job right because they cranked it up to the highest resolution and didn't do anything about the performance optimization. And then they just walked away. And it's a demo. And how many times, dealer? At least there's been like 6 major games where the demo ran horribly or less favorably compared to the PS4 Pro. And all those fanboys out in the streets danced around, the Xbox One X has all that power, and look at it now. And then
It's
when the
only
final
running
comes
at a
out,
much
when the
higher
game gets
resolution.
patched,
It's like, God
yeah, the
damn.
game gets patched, and they're like, oh, crap. Because remember, Titanfall 2 was running at a resolution up and even lower than the PS4 Pro. And then when the game got patched, it was like, oh, it's killing
Nobody
the
cared
PS4
then,
Pro.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they hide like little cockroaches when lights turn on.
A lot of those demos are E3 demos.
Sean said a lot
Yeah.
of those demos are E3 demos.
So
Yeah,
they
yeah,
kinda
they're old.
crank
It
them
is an
out
old.
and
It is an
they
older
optimize
demo.
them.
That is correct.
Yeah.
The game looks amazing, though. It really does. If you haven't tried the Resident Evil Raccoon City demo, try it out. You can download it now. Black, by the way,
Hey.
says, love the work you do, all of you. Thank you so much. Haven't seen you in a minute. Good to see you.
Hey,
But
dealer.
yeah, it runs mostly, I would say mostly at 30 frames in the demo. From what I was paying attention to the frame rate, I was like, this looks like it was running somewhere probably. I didn't look at the analysis at Digital Foundry at all, but I'm assuming it runs anywhere from 45 to 30 the majority of the time. It's not good.
I can say this about Resident Evil, the remake on the Xbox Series X. It's gonna run well over 60 frames per second because my Radeon 7 was doing like fucking 70, 80 frames per second. It was at sometimes 90, close to 100. And once again, Xbox Series X is more powerful. It's more capable. We're in for such a treat this holiday season. Dealer, if I could just have 1 second, I did pull up here the what Dolby said to Cerny. Can I just go through it real quick?
Yep.
Okay, so go ahead.
You're like, fuck you, Cerny, and that's it. All right, thanks, Steve.
Okay, so here it goes. So he's talking about a question. Is true Dolby Atmos captured 32 objects? And they responded, no, that's incorrect. As a technology, Dolby Atmos can support hundreds of simultaneous objects. That being said, we fall back on the advice from developers. As some of the first Atmos games, objects are fantastic tools, but there's some restraints were shown to respect the number of objects active at any time due to developers, yada, yada, yada. What do you think of Sony's mission to bring 3D audio to everyone? Sony's mission to bring 3D audio to everyone. Sony's mission to bring 3D audio to everyone on the PlayStation 5 is exciting. It reminds us when we began that Dolby Atmos for games journeys many years ago. Okay, shots fired. Sony announced deep focus on 3D audio. How does that impact Dolby? We are thrilled that Sony is dedicated to using 3D audio in its new consoles, that it can be interpreted as a validation to the work we've already done across all entertainment genres in implementing Dolby Atmos on devices consumers use today. And, you know, it's just basically correcting all of their misinformation. It's pretty scathing, man. If you read the whole thing, I'll link it.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, like maybe he made a mistake, and I give him the benefit of the doubt, you know. He's not the marketing guy, or you know, he doesn't make these decisions to kind of put things out there like that, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? This is a good learning tool, people. We all make mistakes sometimes, so you know.
Yeah, somebody in the chat said that we were a bunch of fanboys and we were misinformation. You know, people talking about what Mark Cerny said, and I said, "Well, what did he say?" And there's like, well, "He didn't." Ears. It's like I don't know. There's this. It's become a really big problem since the PS5 had this debacle of a reveal. Like this wasn't their real reveal, and this isn't the way they wanted to do it. But Microsoft has been talking for months, and they had to do something. And the PlayStation fans are upset. But like, there's just been this whole thing where people have to call one another out, and I've got receipts, and console wars in session, and they roll up in a dumpster with an old dirty gavel. It's like, just stop. Like, just stop. Like, it's so lame. I don't even know what.
On my ride, bitch.
Oh man! Hey, shout out to Kids Movie says Series X 549, PS5 449, Lockhart basically 349. So
yeah,
we'll watch Kids Movie get exposed soon. Shout out to Kids Movie though, man. We got him on the show again. Christian in the super chat, he says super excited that we are talking about multiplayer at 120 FPS, even if it's not at 4K native, and I have to scale back to 1440/1080. Yeah, I mean, some games like Gears, if you know, again, Gears 5 is dynamic 4K 60 FPS multiplayer. Is no question that you can have some kind of dynamic form of that at 120 on Series X. So you might be surprised by some of the results you see there. Let's go ahead and move down and go forward with some of the topics. Remedy. God, there's a lot of tech shit today. Remedy, Resident Evil 3 demo, it is what it is. It is just a demo, but you still should not be okay with somebody half-assing a demo for your platform. It's not cool. So, again, variable refresh rate, don't do it. Give an opinion on frame rate. I'll tell you that firsthand. Remedy talk, PS5 SSD. Remedy, the guys behind Control, Alan Wake, and more, they say the SSD in PS5 may not even necessarily translate into much faster loading times. I was kind of surprised by that because I figured that's the one thing it will do.
Lies. All lies.
Yikes.
I mean, will this thing change gaming? Like, Remedy are saying it may not even translate into better loading times.
No,
dealer, it might even change. It might even change your clothes, dealer.
You think
that's how good we're
you're
making
going hard on Sony today?
I think it's going to be on a game-to-game basis. I think in theory you should see a few seconds at the very least quicker loading times. Like say the game loads up in 2 seconds on the PlayStation 5. That same multi-plat game might take 4 to 5 seconds on the Xbox Series X. I think that's kind of likely the scenario. I think in practice, like in the worlds, because yes, in theory they'll be able to draw things in, you know, further and at a quicker rate, but it's doing it so fast already. I don't think anyone's going to really notice it. Honest to tell you, I think it's going to be there, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be noticeable. And I think, you know, Xbox velocity, once again, feeding the data is going to mitigate that, where you're really not going to be able to tell the difference. But load times, I think the games will load faster.
Okay, well, I don't know why Remedy are saying that. I'm surprised. I mean, I figured that it will offer, and I guess it depends on how long the load time is. If you got a 20-second load time or a 10-second load time, you're looking at least twice as quick, I would imagine, depending on compression. But, you know, maybe there's some shorter ones out there that just aren't going to have
Remedy's joining PlayStation.
You don't think so?
Oh,
I mean,
it doesn't sound like it now, man. They're like
they're not falling in line.
Yeah, it's like, actually, fuck off. It's not. It's like, all right, Remedy, damn, take it easy. Go make a good game for one.
Talk that talk, Zucker.
God, I don't fucking like him. Me and Fonz agree wholeheartedly on that.
Did you play Control, Zucker?
No, I played Quantum Break though, and I beat the shit out of that game, and I was just like, "This is just not where I'm
This
at."
is
And the
the same.
Quantum
controls
Break
is
was
not even
good,
worth
man.
it.
I liked
Quantum Break was not good, man. I'm sorry.
I liked it. I liked it.
I have like almost 1,000 achievement points in that. I gave that shit everything I had, and I was just like, no, I'm good.
He said, no, I'm good. I mean, Quantum Break,
I'm just like, I'll check out Control if it goes on Game Pass or something, but I'm not putting my money towards that shit.
It's on PS Now. Pick it
let's
up.
see here. Yeah, I do got to go forward on this topic here. This is a pretty interesting one because it directly contradicts some stuff. And again, shout out to Remedy for kind of putting that out there, but it's kind of a curious quote from them. I do believe you will see faster load times pretty much mostly across the board, but hey, that's just me. Ex-Sony developer says that Xbox Series X is more powerful, and not only that, but it's pretty gigantic gap. Again, as we've been saying a million times, the performance delta is pretty huge. And according to Chris Granell, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right or wrote that right. He follows me on Twitter. I follow him. I was messaging him. I'm gonna get him to come on the show. He wants to come on the show. This is a guy that made games for PS3 and PS4, and he's been talking to his developer friends. And when people are saying, well, PS5 is more powerful, and of course, for some reason, they're running with Jason Schreier's quote that has nothing to do with performance, as we've already talked about. He's saying developers are more impressed with certain aspects of PS5. Of course, the SSD is one of them. Nothing to do with game performance. Chris basically said, in regards to PS5 being more powerful, he says, sorry, sadly, I'm hearing differently from actual developers. He says, I've connected to a few developers, and they have confirmed to me that the power difference is quite staggering. However, they have said that it doesn't mean that you can't make great games on PS5, which is great. Something to finish it up with. This is just a guy giving out the information he was given. He was then attacked. We'll talk about that in a minute. But again, T-flops today, GCN, 2 Navi is more like 3 GCN. I mean, you're getting 40, 50 frames more per second on the GPU alone, and what I think will be better ray tracing. Believe it or not, you'll see it. The leap from 1440 to 4K is about 25 to 30 FPS. The Series X is going to have a ton of overhead to do more things with. So Chris is basically saying, according to my developer friends, they're telling me the performance difference is staggering, and that's according to all of his friends he's talked to. And this is an ex-Sony developer.
Can I say something real quick? I'm sorry, but like the juxtaposition, like you look at the way Xbox was freaking announced and all the stuff that came out, there wasn't a lot of criticism from developers. There wasn't a lot of people talking or anything. It was mainly like the fake insiders coming out and saying, well, 13.3, like, right? Like that, just dumb shit. But ever since Sony's announced shit, has it not seemed like everybody's like, well, like, it's like they're telling people like, it's not really, like Remedy coming out and saying something, like all these people coming out and being like, well, actually, no, Xbox is fucking killing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's, I feel like it's weird, right? Like I feel like for the first time, people are actually questioning what Sony said, and people are actually going, you know what? Actually, no, Sony. Like that's not what happened. Dolby's coming out. Like, look at all the shit. Like I feel like it's a debacle. Like,
what are you saying?
Like,
what are you saying?
That's
Tucker?
because of the power
train wreck, bro. But it's
the
so
power
it's
change,
so bad.
bro. It's the change of power here. I mean, because if you look at the Sony consoles that have come out, they've all been the most powerful. Like people don't want to claim that, but the PS3 was indeed more powerful. And what did it do? It ended up winning the generation in the end. You know, if you want to count the sales anyway, the sales
You won't.
it won that. So
You won't count that.
Well, the original Xbox was by far the most powerful, I do believe. The GameCube was even more powerful than the PS2. PS3 was more powerful.
No. I think the PS2 was
more
more powerful back then.
No, the original Xbox was far more powerful than PS2, and even the GameCube was more powerful than the PS2.
The Xbox was, but I don't think the GameCube was.
It was. Trust me, I'm good at this.
Really?
So PS3 was more powerful technically than the 360, but it was hard to develop for, and it used Blu-ray and all the stuff developers had to learn. PS4 was more powerful. The Pro wasn't. The X was. It's always good to have this stuff on your side. That's why we always say ask for power and games, right? You can't lose if you want both.
Well, power didn't matter to a certain group. And then power did matter when they said only at the start of a generation. And that's why I'm kind of laughing now. It's like, okay.
And specs won't matter until Lockhart is revealed, right?
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you'll hear it.
No, teraflops don't matter.
Now, teraflops don't matter
teraflop
at all.
is a calculation of, GPU clock speed and CU. I mean, it is basically the shortcut to the overall capability, provided you are on the same architecture. You can compare these things. So
It's like telling somebody who owns a truck that horsepower doesn't matter. Like, I mean, it's part of the story.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It's kind of dumb. I mean, I heard somebody say it in the chat. Like, why do you guys keep saying it? Like, we don't say teraflop. I've been saying, I'm not like the most, I only know so much about tech. And I've been saying for 3 years on my videos that teraflops are not the be all end all. They're just one of the measurements.
Yeah.
And I was so sure Cerny would not bring up teraflops because I thought they would need to communicate how powerful and fast the PS5 is without exposing the power delta between the Xbox Series X. And I would like to ask anybody in here if Cerny even used teraflops in his presentation. I think just Digital Foundry did in their...
I think he did. I think he did say the number.
I don't remember.
And he did say that the 10.28 is largely sustainable. I do believe.
Yeah, but I also don't know if that was in the Eurogamer...
No, I think he said it, yeah.
Yeah, I had a hard time watching the whole TED Talk.
To be honest with you, if we have more questions after a presentation like that, that's a bad presentation. We have like more questions than we did going in.
And it wasn't for us, right, Zocker? I mean,
Yeah,
it
it's
wasn't.
GDC.
Well, PS5
But
spec
still.
reveal ain't for the people that are going to be buying it, and they, it was for us in a way. So
It wasn't something they should have advertised on Twitter like, "Hey, we're making the announcement tomorrow.
they
Big
did
reveal."
that because
They
it's for
had
us,
to.
I mean,
Exactly.
if it's just for the developers, they wouldn't have put it out there for the public.
Yeah, they hyped it. They did hype it.
Yeah,
And
of course
they shouldn't have done that.
Noob Sidebot, by the way, says again, people just have to see those comparisons over and over and over before they get it,
Yeah.
and I agree. They definitely will.
And they'll also be in frame rate. I think there's going to be, once again, let's see what Sony is, if they're going to implement some type of VRS into their console. But if they don't, they're really going to get hit with frame rates as well.
I feel like we need to reset something because I keep seeing it in the chat. That Xbox Series X won't have exclusives at least for the first couple of years.
How do you
Dee,
feel
can you
about
explain that, please?
Okay, first of all, it will have exclusives. It'll have console exclusive. I guess I would say that you can only get on consoles or a PC. Games from the PlayStation, I'm pretty sure they're gonna start announcing them pretty soon. More of them will be coming to the PC, and as well, it's the way that these games will scale up. So even though the game is on Xbox One and Xbox Series X, it's going to scale up on the Xbox Series X. It's going to look a lot better. It's going to have features that aren't present in the other versions, such as ray tracing. And I'm sure some of these games are going to even take advantage of the solid state drive solution, whereas the lower version might be playable, but it's going to be missing some features. It's going to be missing some of those dressings, right?
So run slower, yeah.
It's just the way it is. This is how it is on PC. Guys, they know their budget. You know what? If they have a certain budget, they want to play at 1080p. They get like a 1660 Ti or RX 570, and those same people they will get a Lockhart. And then there's some people that want performance, and they're gonna get the Xbox Series X.
The Xbox Series X is gonna have the second best looking games around. First is gonna be PC, Xbox Series X, then Stadia, then PlayStation. Like that's just what's gonna happen. So it's okay.
Oh my gosh, that
No,
was
don't
rude.
even bring Stadia.
I'm joking.
It's fucked up. Hey, shout out to
Fucked
to
up.
Laver Washington as well, by the way. Shout out to him. And Shoguns, who says
Stadia's around by
Sony
then.
was riding high on their console sales, and they felt anyone will buy their next system. So he Shoguns is basically saying maybe they got a little cocky, right? I mean, do you guys think that, or maybe they just had a lot of restrictions?
I think they got their asses kicked when you consider looking at both systems and the way they were designed. It's clear that that they were out engineered, and
But Sony are a hardware company, Microsoft are a software company, Tim.
yeah, I mean it's just the proof's in the pudding. You look at that, and there's still questions to be had. Is it full RDNA 2? Or are those is it RDNA1 with VRS grafted on? So there's still a lot of questions. But you look at both systems, and if you took somebody and you said you didn't tell them which is which, they would all pick Xbox Series X. The specs are staggering. The specs are to the point where Digital Foundry said that they wouldn't be able to do it. So Microsoft did it, and they should be applauded. Sony, they have a good system. It's just not up to par. Compared to Xbox Series X, it's the bottom line.
Yeah, Digital Foundry were among the last ones that comes to that 12 teraflop conclusion. Tim John in the chat says teraflops don't matter. Well, unless you were pushing that 13 teraflop PS5 rumor, What? Why is it that
all those tweets got deleted? By the way, I went and looked today for 13.3 teraflop tweets, and like there was almost nothing showing up on the results. Holy smokes!
I did the
People
same
were like,
thing.
they were over there with the Twitter shredder.
No, I mean, just one thing I wanted to say about Chris, who we were just talking about. One of the things that, and I'm sure we'll just go into it, is that he's been attacked.
Chris Garnell.
They went after him, and let's try to avoid doing that. He just basically was saying what he heard. He hit me up in DM, and he showed me some of the stuff that was being said to him, and it was like, come on, like, don't take it to that point.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because people have done this to us because we prefer Xbox, right? They'll accuse us of saying something without actually linking it, or they'll try to take some out of context, or you're reading an article, oh, you said that. Or they'll just basically lie about certain things knowing that there's no proof and that they made the shit up because they don't like you and because you said something positive about something else they don't like. So that's what they did to Chris. They basically said that he was owned by Microsoft and that he had all this Microsoft stuff in his house, when in fact Chris worked on PS3 and PS4 games as a Sony developer.
He shared that he purchased an Elite V2. He was sharing that. And I would ask, Xbox fans, don't go, and PlayStation fans, don't go into content, a tweet or a video or a comment section that's explicitly about one certain platform and grief people about your favorite one. Like I shared Dealer's video about the power and the features that are coming with the architecture on the Xbox Series X. And somebody came in griefing me about how PlayStation 5 has this or that. Like, that's a really bad look. And I've seen Xbox fans do it to PlayStation only posts. Like, stay out of that stuff. It makes you look really immature. And I see people do it in the chat here too.
Same goes for games. Like, I see people like talking up Bleeding Edge, and they're like talking to each other saying, yeah, this is a fun game and stuff. And then somebody will go in there and just be like, Bleeding Edge sucks. It's like, what's the point of that? What's the point of that?
I have to agree. Like, who cares? Sony is less powerful. It sucks, guys. It's, whatever. That's okay. Just play the games. Sony's presentation sucked. Does it suck that you don't have the power narrative? Yeah, it does. But, it's okay.
Anything else, Zucker?
Fake concern over here.
Fake concern?
Yeah, I know.
I'm just fucking with them.
There's a super chat for, let's see, did you get this other one? One of them's for me. Oh, Dante. So I talked to Dante on Xbox Live the other night. He said, shout out to the whole RDX squad. Keep doing the great work you do. Good guy. Go follow him on Twitter. We hung out for like 2 hours playing games, and yeah, it was a good time.
Shout out to Dante. I followed Dante too. And shout out to Shoguns, who just became a channel member. Thank you so much, sir. Again, man, well, it's crazy because we want to sound a little nicer towards, and by the way, we got to give a shout out to still 2,000 people watching this live, guys. If you haven't hit that like button, let's try to crush 1,000 live and well over that after the fact. Thank you so much. Share this out for us. Help us out a little bit. And be sure and support everyone here on the channel. Hit the bell icon, etc. But when it comes down to it, we want to be a little nicer towards this thing than we are, because we'd only said it's ever going to be great no matter what it comes in at. But the constant damage control over PlayStation 5 specs and people pretending like a higher frequency on the GPU is anywhere near the processing power of something. There's 2080 Ti is underclocked under several cards, and it crushes the fuck out of them. There's a reason. It's all about the CUs combined with the frequency.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, man. It really is frustrating, and that's why we're kind of coming down on these people, because we're sitting there watching this and we're like, what do you mean audio uses 2-3 teraflops? What are you talking like journalists are literally taking advantage of the Sony community by writing something like that, and like, these idiots will click on this, fuck it.
The Xbox Series X dedicated audio chip is like a 3-week-old news piece. Like, how did you not know that before you wrote this hit piece article? Elite Bean 21 in the super chat says to Colt, which is me, if both consoles can do both 4K 60 FPS, then games would be the deciding factor, correct?
Nope.
If you have other reason, what would it be? So my answer is yes, games. Xbox Game Studios is working on over 20 games right now. Xbox Game Pass is a boon. Having the most power would be the boon, or someone wouldn't buy a 2080 Ti or the next graphics card.
Well, you have to explain to these people that it's not about getting up to 4K and then 60 FPS. For one, there'll be a lot of upscaling, checkerboarding, all that stuff. That'll cover the cost of ray tracing by itself. But then you got ray tracing and all the different effects.
And they're already saying that ray tracing and some of these RDNA 2 features on the Xbox Series X will be more enhanced than they will on the PS5. So am I going to choose the PS5 because it loads a game in 3 seconds instead of 8? No. Would I choose the PS5? I'm going to buy both. So, I mean, ask the same question to somebody on PC. Like, why do you want to buy the 2080 Ti when the 2080 plays the same games? You know, what are the side effects?
Let me ask you a question, Colt. I want to ask you something. I want to ask you, though, Colt. Why are you buying a PS5?
Because I want to play their games.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. People out there want to say that, we hate on PlayStation. We don't like their games. What? I mean, we talk about them all the time. Hell, Dealer always talks about God of War being his favorite game. Probably one of his favorites this gen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and two, we even rated Days Gone like 78 instead of a 71 that it's at.
You
like,
know what? Sony's the best.
Don't say fucking we.
Tim has something to say on Sony being the best.
The ones that finished it, Zocker.
Sony's the best. It's the most powerful. It has the best ray tracing. You guys are great. Xbox sucks.
There you go. Is that what you wanted to hear, chat?
Yeah. That's sometimes what some people want to hear.
But those same people wouldn't say anything if Tim said that and he meant it. They'd be like, yeah, you're right. Because
let me go back.
They just muted it right there. They never said that.
Colt, some Marvelous Jason says, Colt, why do you deliberately ignore the other benefits SSDs offer? Like data streaming for someone who's fine-tuned on the tech. What? I got called a Sony fanboy like 37 times in my last video because I talked about how great the PlayStation 5's SSD is. Like, what? Do you guys even watch?
I think we're going down a rabbit hole. No.
Yeah. Anyway, no. What I was going to say before I read that is, don't bite the hand that feeds you. You've got a developer like Chris who's out there talking about the next generation consoles. People like him and the people he works with are going to make the games that we love, games that we talk about every day online or in our videos or with our friends. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Don't go to a developer, whether he's an Xbox developer or PlayStation or he makes Animal Crossing. Don't go in there and grief those people. They don't deserve that stuff.
Oh, man.
Leave them alone.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Sorry, guys. You got to understand that you're in a situation when you're doing a show or videos, and you literally talk about earlier in the show the same thing that somebody's bitching about you're not talking about, pretending like this one moment in time is the only one that fucking exists. And it's really hard to deal with sometimes because you understand the amount of misinformation there's out there about a lot of stuff, and the last thing we want to do is perpetuate that. So it's just hard not to address it, man, honestly. But a lot of people are like, fuck them. You know, you guys are doing your thing, just move on. Yeah. But at the end of the day, too, I don't feel like that's fair. But, you know, it's a struggle. And that's why Colt was like, what the hell are you talking about just now? Because
he said, really did Marvelous Jason said something about how I dismissed all the other things that the SSD did. But then the whole first quarter of the show, we talked about how those SSD benefits may not be seen on 90% of games. That we'll only see them on first-party games. So the biggest SSD benefit that we're going to see on the PS5 is going to be games loading super fast, like 2 times faster than the Xbox Series X.
And then we covered how Remedy was talking about, hey, you may not even get necessarily faster load times at certain games, right?
I mean, that could be true. I'm not sure. But what I was trying to say was, is that going to be my deciding factor? Is it double load speed when we're talking about, 6 to 8 seconds to load a game instead of 2 to 3? Like, you got to think about these things. But I'm buying both, so I don't have to make the choice. And as long as everything in this world comes out okay, and everybody's okay, and the consoles come out on time, I'll be buying both in November. So I'm excited for that. But people are so absolute. And when I'm saying people, I look at our chat going, and I'm talking about 97 or 98% of you are not this way. There's a small percentage that are they're so stuck on one thing, and I try not to do that too much. So
yeah, we'll be buying both systems. We've talked over and over. Watch the damn reviews on Sony games, Xbox games. Like, again, get tired of addressing it. Like, if you don't pay attention, like, you don't watch the videos, then don't bother throwing that stuff out there because you just look dumb. And the chat usually is likely to inform you anyway. But, hey, this is Saints Row 4, by the way. I wanted to ask the panel real quick because all the stuff that's going on. A bunch of stuff going on in the real world, as you guys know, sickness stuff going around. Everyone's kind of locked down some places. Will this kind of be likely to maybe cause a delay, Sean? Do you think this new consoles will be delayed thanks to what's going on out there in the real world?
Do I think they'll be delayed? I have no idea, honestly.
Throw a prediction out there.
I don't think it will. Like, just off the top of my head, I don't think it will. It might slow down maybe the production of some games. I mean, I know they can work remotely, but if you're not used to working remotely, it's a challenge. Like, I used to work from home for like 7 years, so I'm like kind of used to it. But my job now, like, we're all set up to work remotely, and getting servers running and getting everybody on the same page, it's a hassle. So if you're not prepared for that, then production of games could possibly slow down.
I'm gonna say yes. I think it is gonna cause delay on the consoles. I'm gonna go out on a limb, and if I'm wrong, I don't give a fuck. I'll eat a burrito crow. I don't care what's dancing down the street as I go get the goddamn console. But I think it is gonna cause a delay. Even the Olympics got delayed like for a year. So like the biggest event like in the world, right? Like everything's getting delayed. I really do think they're gonna get delayed. Do I want them to? No, but I'm going to go on a limb and say they do, and if they don't, then I'm going to be even more fucking happy.
They better not be delayed. They're essential pieces of hardware that we need,
Let's ask the whole panel.
I think what's going to happen is I think they're going to be in short supply, and I think that when they do come out on pre-order, you better pre-order the minute it comes out.
Facts. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be delayed because, like Dealer alluded to earlier, some of Microsoft products has started to ramp up again, and AMD just a few weeks back said that they have things in place, to kind of ensure that things aren't going to slow down, right? So I believe them when they're saying that, because of course they're speaking to investors and stuff like that. And we found out today that Wuhan, which was like the epicenter for this stuff, is starting to open up tomorrow. And the next few weeks it's going to be fully open, and people are starting to go back to work, and they're reporting no new cases. So, and that's where everything gets made, right? So, with that starting to ramp up production, no, I don't think so. But I think they're going to be constrained the amounts of them. If you like Fonz just said, when you hear them announce that pre-orders are open, go get that shit day one just to ensure that at least you can get yours at launch, because I think they're going to be few copies out there.
Can I ask you guys what you might think if maybe the PlayStation 5 was delayed but not the X? Like how
make a difference?
Would that?
They can't change shit.
Yeah, or vice versa, right?
Well, how would that affect the other though? Do you think that would be detrimental to one?
I think that AMD are more likely to push back their desktop launcher Navi RDNA 2 over the consoles. If there were three factors and they said, we can get away with these two, but we got to push something back, I think they would keep the consoles on the table because, for one, Microsoft and Sony will buy every chip AMD can produce for them. And when it comes to the desktop side, that's not always as guaranteed. So I think, that could be a possibility as well, but you never know, right?
It's interesting, though.
Yeah, I think the GPUs will come out too. Once again,
hopefully they all come out. Yeah.
Worst case scenario, just not that many units.
Hey, shout out to you, Crimson X25. I hear you, brother. I hear you. Also, new Cybot. He says it's time to enjoy your ecosystem. Just know it's for fun and not in real life. Anyway, enjoy your gaming. Be nice, and see you guys on the next. I'm Noob, and I'm out. Thank you so much, Noob. Appreciate it, buddy. That's again, man. It's just I just wish people would kind of consider things a little more, and it's not as easy as some might think when it comes to all this stuff. Shout out to Titan Drago as well, and everyone else in the chat. Wish I could keep up, but I can't. Let's get into the final topic as we get the fuck out of here, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, over 2,100 lives tonight. Hit that like button if you haven't. Share this out, help us out a little bit, and check out the show from the beginning if you missed some topics. We didn't really want to go in on PS5 like that, but again, like hearing some of the stuff we've heard, Chris getting attacked by people and lied on, and two people damage controlling raw math, and the fact that Microsoft are the ones with the more optimization features announced, like VRS. There is no efficiency method on one side and not on the other. It's one has more GPU efficiency features announced, and then one has Jason Schreier saying developers are saying that they like certain things about the PS5 despite the specs better than the Series X. Has nothing to do with performance. He didn't mention performance at all. Development SSD, I expect those to be, developers to like those. So that could be what he's talking about. On the other hand, we got Chris confirming this is an ex-Sony developer talking about how he's talked to his developer friends, and the gap between the two, as we've always said on the show, is staggering between the Series X and PS5 in power. So some of you will have to wait and see. Some of you understand what this performance means on paper.
Hey, thanks to where is it? Was that a super chat? Hold on. Yeah, I think it was. Davison Taylor super chat said Microsoft CEO just stated earlier tonight that he anticipates no delay in console launch. So I looked this up really quick while you were talking, dealer.
Mhm.
Your voice is so soothing. Satya Nutella. I always call him Satya Nutella. Sorry, it's by habit. I love that stuff. He comments on possible Xbox Series X delay, assuring that supply chains are getting back on the rails. We'll have to check back on it, but one good thing is the supply chains are all coming back. In some sense right now, that is not a real issue. I think the bigger issue is what happens in the United States, in Europe, and other developing markets around the demand side of this going forward. That was his quote. But we feel good from where we are, especially when you look at how we're able to meet the demands of our work from home kits. Therefore, I think on the supply side, we're getting back on the rails. The question now will be more getting the products done and then launched. Obviously, we're going to focus mostly again on quality as well as the demand situation and more importantly, safety for the people, end quote. There you go. That's kind of good to hear. It's not a definitive shiny cloud, but I also heard one of the hardware leaders for Xbox saying that he was working a graveyard shift because they're working on making sure everything stays in the pipeline and as planned right now for going forward. So those two things right there should sort of keep you on a more positive note, and hopefully, like D-Batch was saying, that things are getting better around the world slowly. I mean, for everybody, because I know we all have things we look forward to in our lives, and this year, like the new consoles is a big one for me. Even though it's just video games, it's a big thing I'm looking forward to.
Hopefully they hit. Devin got the box as a dealer. Why is the PS5 trash? I don't think it's a trash. As long as it comes in at $400, man, it'll be a great deal. And if you want to play those games and stuff, nobody's he's just kidding. Devin knows. Devin knows. He's just kidding. Yeah, nobody's saying PS5 is trash. We think it's a good kit. It's way better than what we have now, and it just turns out Series X is going to be $100 more likely, and a fucking monster. So that's
I think everybody here is excited about the PS5. I think it's more the misinformation that gets everybody riled up.
Yeah.
It might sound like we're coming hard on PS5, but no, I think it's just the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people.
The people.
It is pretty crazy, the stuff people make up, Sean. You've seen it. But that's anybody, like you ask them what they saw or what the last thing they watched was. Can you link it? And they're like, I didn't watch it. Like, all right, shut the fuck up. So let's get to the last topic. And again, guys, we're just letting you know, thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying in. Stay safe and kind of, keeping good spirits. Play some games. We'll talk about the game we're playing here lately. And as you guys stream out, again, thanks for what you do. Support the panel and stay for outros if you want. But, Zalker, Doom Eternal impressions. That's what we're going to end on. Fucking phenomenal game. What are your thoughts on this game so far?
I fucking love it, man. Like we were playing last night at a party, and I had to go to sleep for work, and I just I had to stop because I was like, man, it's fucking almost 11. I'm still going. I was like wide awake. That whole game is just freaking awesome. The music is awesome. Everything about the game has been fucking stellar. And look, the HDR is insane, bro. Like, it's insane on it. Like, just chainsawing people in half, killing them. There's a bunch of gore kills that you don't even see coming. Like, you kind of get used to the regular ones, and then he'll pull one off where he rips a guy's head off, and his spine comes with him. And you're just like, oh fuck! Like, just I don't know, man. I want to capture every footage and put it on my channel. Like, it's just so good, and the shooting is smooth, man. And there is some platforming, but again, it's pretty cool. Like, it's actually it's fun. Like, I don't know, man. It's one of the best FPSs I've played ever. Like, I just fucking love it. Like, it's so much fun.
It is so much fun. Who else is playing this in here?
I've played it.
And you're not blown, your mind's not blown over this game?
My mind is definitely blown up over this game. The first of all, it's a step up from the original one. It's a lot fast.
How many levels have you benchmarked? I mean, played.
Quite a few, but I gotta be honest though. I kind of suck at this version because it's really fucking fast and twitchy, and it's definitely a fast paced game. It's not my best game, but it looks fantastic, honestly.
Yeah, it's insane. By the way, DJ Hero, thank you so much, sir, for becoming a channel member. If you want to become a channel member, hit that join button down below. The game is insane. I think it's a perfect evolution of Doom. Exploration platforming is great to me anyway. You got all kinds of level ups, perks, different armor, the gunplay. Fonzarelli, why are you kind of on the fence because of the kind of platforming and exploration to it?
I don't like platforming in FPSs. I hate it in games that I do like Destiny and stuff, and it just pisses me off sometimes. I just don't like the field of view, when you're jumping around and stuff. It just for a first person, that perspective, I don't like it. I'd rather it be in third. However, I'm not saying I'm not going to get the game. The game looks great, and I like the first one, so I'm probably going to get it anyway. But yeah,
you definitely need to get it. It's amazing.
Just a little bit weary on that. Like it's platforming in the FPSs.
It sucks at first, Fonz. It was really difficult, and then you get like a couple of I don't know what you call it, skills. I don't know what to call it. And then it gets easier, and you get better at it. Hold on, I got to read this super chat. Drunken Ninja redid it. He already paid for a super chat, but we missed it. He said he put it in here. He said people are overlooking that Xbox Series X is going to have dope customization and limited edition consoles because of its form factor. Because it's a rectangular prism. We are hoping that they do a Halo Infinite launch console, but I'm not sure. They usually do. What do you think about this, Zucker?
I think if they bring out a limited edition Halo one, that shit's gonna sell like hotcakes. Because I don't know, has there been like launch custom consoles? Like I don't remember.
I don't know if there has. I think they used that later.
Then that would make people want that, and then if they get the other one, they're gonna feel kind of like, I want the custom one, right? That's why, to be honest with you, that's what happened to me with the PS4 Pro. Like I almost bought the God of War one, and then they showed the Spider-Man one, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking wait. So yeah, I just because the Spider-Man one to me looks fucking insane, and that's the one I got. So I don't know if they're gonna do any at the launch. If they do, I think it's gonna be very limited and make it pretty exclusive, so it sells out really quick, and it's gonna be for like the hardcore. But yeah, I don't know, man. Custom consoles don't really apply to me because I'm gonna get them at launch, right? Except for the PlayStation, because that's what I think.
Well, I mean, Halo Infinite is supposed to launch with the Xbox. So
yeah,
like that is a crazy question. Like, will they sell 2 at launch? I mean,
who knows? To be honest, I think a year later they will. Whatever game's coming out a year later, I think that's when they'll do it.
Hey, shout out to Lasers Vlogs and Yodani, who says, "Can you guys talk about the supposed bamboozle Xbox did with the Deep Qian on the Xbox dev kits? You guys see that?
What?
I don't know what word that
he said DE. Oh, hang on. I actually didn't notice. Okay, that's the C. My bad. Deception on the Xbox dev kits. I didn't hear about this.
What, the size of them? I saw people. What?
I think he's referring to how back in June of last year, all the developers thought the PS5 was more powerful because of the mostly what the developers that were talking about the Xbox Scarlett dev kit, they were given a list of performance targets to work with. I think that's what they're talking about, but yeah. I don't know what
a lot of big name people were putting their names on that back at last E3. They were saying how they've heard the PlayStation. A lot of big name people look like a bunch of fucking idiots right now.
And we kind of knew that shortly after because Phil actually announced, "Hey, we didn't actually send any dev kits out yet." So we kind of
back in November, he was like, "We just sent our one out," and it's like, "Huh?" So that whole thing back at E3.
What I heard was, now this is a rumor, that they sent out a dev kit at that time that was GCN, and it was like around 13 GCN. It was comparable to a Radeon 7.
Why would they do that? Someone said to fake out Sony, but it's more important for the developers to make games and get ready for the new generation than to fake out Sony, who's not really their direct competitor.
Supposedly they wanted to play their hand that they were weaker, or they didn't want to give Sony a heads up that they were putting out this thing. That's just the rumor, but it's also it got a lot of people like Andrew Ryder to put out a tweet, and then he's feverishly, he even put it out, if you look at his page, he even put it out that Sony Xbox did that. So or he alludes to something like that with GCN. So
It could.
yeah, I think they played a little bit of cat and mouse with that, to be honest.
Could have been something as simple too as the Radeon 7 is actually currently AMD's highest GPU, so maybe that's the best they could get for developers to work with at the time. Zocker, before you were saying about the custom consoles, I was trying to talk. I was like, yo, these guys ain't listening to me, but I was muted.
Fraud.
I think they're gonna do an Anaconda one. I wish they'd do a Halo one, but they're probably not. But I think they're gonna do an Anaconda special edition like they did for the Scarlett.
They haven't said the phrase Anaconda
Scorpio,
much
sorry.
all over the
I haven't
past
heard
year
that either.
and a half.
But it's on the
The
motherboard.
Anaconda's
they
on the chipboard. They have it embossed or silk screened on there. But right, dealer, like Scarlett
yeah,
was
the Scarlet one.
Hey guys, I just want to cut in and say I've got to go. It's already past my bedtime.
Yeah.
I got to get up really early, man.
Show's gonna go on a little while.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey,
everybody.
follow
You guys were awesome.
Tim and Fonz. I'm gonna give you guys an outro at least. Where can people find you, Fonz?
They can find me at The Grounded Gamer right here on YouTube and J Fonzarelli on Twitter. Follow me, subscribe, do all that stuff. But thank you guys. Chat's always awesome. And thank you, Dealer, and everybody else here. And Sean, it was great to have you on.
Yeah,
We'll have to do this again. But yeah, crazy stuff
Awesome.
going on right now. Too.
Tim.
All right, man.
Yeah, have a good night, Fonz. Feel better. Tim, where can they find you, brother, on Twitter and stuff like that?
Yeah, xCloud Tim Dog on Twitter. You can always find me here every RDX. I'll be here. Sean, thanks for coming down. Quickly for what I was playing, I've been playing Ori. I have to say it's amazing, but very hard, just like the first. I'm still having problems with the first. Like the first where I did finish, but I'm about 9 hours, 10 hours in, and it's difficult, but it's very enjoyable. Great show tonight, and shout out to the fans, 2,000 fans showing up and the chat. Everything's awesome. We just try to give you guys the real deal information. It's no bullshit. And I think that with everything that went on, I think that kind of proved ourselves here. So maybe we can just move on. And, if we say something, it doesn't have to be, double taked all the time,
Yeah. And next week we want to focus so heavy on specs because we got it out of the way the last 2 weeks because it's kind of been 2 big weeks for tech. So
thank you, though, everyone, and see you next week.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's good having you. And Colt, I don't know how much longer you got, but I mean, we're pretty much done for the most part.
I'm ready to. I think my lower half fell asleep.
Yeah. Tell people where they can find you, buddy. And
you can find me at Colt Eastwood on YouTube and Twitter. That's where I usually am. And I've been playing Doom Eternal. It's really fantastic. I'm a large chunk into Ori. That game's really difficult for me, but I'm making way, and I'm just enjoying the games a lot. And I think we're going to start hearing about new games probably in about a month or two. So it'll come.
Yeah.
Talking about specs all the time, it gets tiring.
I'm actually glad that PlayStation did this. We can be done with it for a little bit because I'm all about the tech stuff, but it's like holy fuck, like I'm.
It was getting exhausted with the supposed leaks and the hardware testing and all that stuff.
And the discussion could take time if you actually know what the specs mean. So it's like I don't know, man. It gets old.
For me personally, it was just good to see the fake insiders exposed, man. Honestly, that was the best part, man. Just seeing these guys exposed, and you know how much they're full of it, man. And
and then they turned around and told us that we were just as wrong because we said 9.2. But I mean,
no, we weren't. That's a 9.2 chip that's been confirmed. It's just overclocked up to 10.2, and it's variable. It goes down from 9.2 all the way up to 10.2.
Yeah. And some of us even said it would be 9.2 to 10 teraflops. It would be somewhere in that range. So come on.
We have tons of videos saying 9 to 10. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm gonna go, guys. Thank you so much. Good show.
13, Cole. So good work.
2,000 people live. That was a great. Yeah. I'll see you guys on Xbox.
All right, brother.
All right,
Courtney, by the way, in the super chat says SSD and consoles evolutionary, not revolutionary. Definitely not if you're making third-party games for all kinds of PC hard drives, etc. Trying to get some of these, man. I don't want to leave these behind. Drunken Ninja, he says people overlooking Xbox Series X is gonna have dope customization. Oh, okay, you read that one. My bad. But yeah, thank you so much to the Bad Boy Live. Good to see you, man. It's been a minute. He says no dread alive. Xbox HDMI died. Miss you guys. Thanks, man. We do miss you too. And yeah, only one HDMI port from what we know of, and already gave a shout out to him and everyone else up there. I'm trying to scroll in, but I mean, we all kind of covered Doom Eternal. It's feeling really good. Exploration is really good. Visuals are fucking fantastic on the Xbox, and man, I just can't stress it enough. It's you gotta play it. You gotta play it. That's kind of where we'll end it, I guess, since everyone else is dead. We're dead, man. We're fucking tired of shit. Shout out to the 1400 still here, guys. Hit the like button, share it out. Follow these guys, Alker, of course, D, and Sean. Sean, have you been playing Doom at all? I forget you're in here, man. Sorry.
No, no worries. No, I plan on getting it. I'm trying to finish up Ori, and then I'll probably jump on that. I want to get that and Half-Life Alyx as well.
Hey, so. I gotta say, man, if you like VR, Half-Life Alyx is the best VR game, hands down. No competition.
I'm excited.
It just set the bar.
Yeah.
Trash.
9 lives.
I legit marked out at certain parts in that game where I was like, I had to step back. I was like, holy shit, this is too real.
Yeah, hopefully everything releases this year. We definitely want everything to release this year. 9 Live says Sony's SSD will entirely power small villages. Yeah, apparently those are responsible for pixel pushing now. It's kind of crazy, man. I've never seen so much damage control, and that's kind of why we came off as assholes this week. Like even more than usual, because it's like, holy fuck, guys.
It's just unbearing. It's so much misinformation, like blatant misinformation, that you just have to respond to it. And because we're responding in such a direct way, it comes off as being harsh, but it's just the truth, man.
It is, and it's not. Again, man, these people know nothing about specs, and we've covered this already. We told them what this chip was going to be, and again, because they weren't around to actually hear it, I guess they're just not very informed on it. So now they're believing people to think an efficiency method and a brute force, all this dumb shit. It's like, no, it's actually the opposite, as Alex from Digital Foundries talked about. Alex actually was like, no, you guys are wrong. The Series X is the one with the efficiency features that are actually announced for it and all that. So I don't know, man.
Pretty damning. Like, I honestly tell you, Digital Foundry was really in those threads, really clarifying a lot of misinformation. So kudos goes out to them. And like for anyone that's tech minded, just seeing that stuff, like, oh my gosh, gave me an instant migraine.
Yeah, I'm just glad we don't have to fucking go over this shit again, because it's been 2 weeks of hard back and forth on what's going on, and it's looking like PS5 is, according to what Digital Foundry is suggesting, there's an article released today according to a source that's not the same as the PC. RDNA 2 is not full fat on the consoles, so you got features that are in and out. That's why I've been very adamant on this. I've always said I think they're both hybrid. Motherfuckers can say what they want, but I've never said it's not RDNA 2, never said it is RDNA 1. I say they're both hybrid, and that's because they have features that may or may not be there from the main architecture. Then we get Cerny coming out, not confirming RDNA 2 full fat features like VRS, and then now we get a source saying that the PC version of RDNA 2 actually isn't identical to the consoles.
I actually read that article, and in all honesty, it's kind of a clickbaity title. If you really dig into the article, the source, first of all, who fucking knows what the source is, says they're not even sure if it's different, if they're going to have different features. They're just speculating on that. And like the end of the day, yes, they're both custom RDNA 2 architecture. They're two custom GPUs. But from what we know of the Xbox Series X, it has the full feature set of RDNA 2. Now, they laid down the feature set of RDNA 2 under their analyst day. Their live stream, I don't know, like 6 weeks ago. They laid down the features, and the Xbox Series X is confirmed to have those features. DX12 Ultimate even reaffirms these features, the mesh shaders, you know.
Yeah, but even the fact that it's not 7nm Plus, right, which is renamed or whatever.
But the 7 nanometer Plus is not coming to the PC right now, anyways. For their Radeon, it's probably going to be the EUV, and we're kind of thinking that the Xbox Series X is actually using that procedure. So because they said it's going to be using their latest 7-nanometer node, right? And they said that 7-nanometer plus, AMD is the one that said this, is reserved for future products. It's not for this generation of RDNA 2 cards. So it has the full feature. Says, yeah, it's the PC part's going to be more powerful. It's going to have more CUs, but it's still the same architecture, right? So it gets a little bit dicey saying that it's a hybrid, because if you I'm just being honest in the technical sense of the term. If you're going to say that it's a hybrid, it has to have features of the first generation of it, which it doesn't. The first generation RDNA actually was a hybrid because it had RDNA architecture and GCN in it. So
it's got support for like 4 and 8-bit integers and all this different stuff as well, like as well as the desktop stuff. That's why when you talk about it, it's all about it being custom, and that's why they're very adamant about that. Like, this is like they put in what they think they'll need for the next 8 years or more, and this thing is very future proof. But when it comes down to it, it will not be identical to the desktop thing, I don't think. And whether that's a feature set or some kind of operating procedure in the way that the GPU works, we'll have to see. But when it comes down to it, they are definitely finding out now that there's some things lacking from the PS5 stuff in terms of BRS and machine learning, RDNA 2 features, ray tracing. It isn't quite the same. And with the Series X, it's highly custom, and I think there's a reason that they're kind of focusing on that. And it's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, actually. You'll get all that performance of the latest generation, but you'll get it at a cost that is much better, I think. So, I don't know. It's just my opinion. Again, it's what I've fucking always said. And people are still trying to tell me what the fuck I said. So again, guys, we're gonna do our outros. And thanks again. Again, we're getting tired of the spec shit. Past 2 weeks, Series X specs, and then the PS5 stuff with the reveal. It's like, now we got those specs out of the way. Now we can fucking go back to more traditional format and layout and kind of keep all this in mind. And yeah.
No, next week we got to break down the SSDs.
No. I'm tired of it. I'm done. Again, like, I love talking about the tech stuff, and that's what my channel's about, because I built it that way, because that's what I like talking about. And I get a million DMs anytime any article comes out, I cover it. But when it comes down to it, we've been pretty hard up on this stuff here lately, and it's not because we necessarily would like to spend that much time talking about it, but there's a lot to figure out and a lot of discussion that people want to know about in the chat. So thanks to, again, 2,100 of you guys joining us tonight, and 1,300 of you still watching us ramble, and I'm so fucking tired. We're going to do outros again. D-Batch, brother, one of my older friends on YouTube. Thanks for coming on again, man, and doing your thing. Tell people where they can find you and what you've been playing.
You can find me on Twitter at D_Batch, and of course on YouTube at DBatch. I've been playing Doom Eternal like you guys. It's a good game. I think it's a definite buy, especially if you're into the Doom games. It's better than the previous version. It looks fantastic, great HDR. But right now, it's all about Half-Life, and I'm gonna reiterate one more time: if you are into VR, this is the game that we've been waiting for. This is the killer app. It finally has arrived, and it's mind-blowing, and it's fucking Half-Life. So enough said.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we gotta give a shout out to, and be sure and follow D, by the way. Rena Warrior Princess, thank you so much. She says this community loves this podcast. Hey man, we're not always on fire, right? Like, in the energy levels, we're human, right? And there's a lot of shit going on in the real world. We're trying to figure out how to cope with that, and just like you guys are, hopefully we took your mind off of it, at least for a little bit. But we're going to try to come back each and every week energized and try to keep improving and do better. But now that we got the spec stuff done, we can stop going in back and forth on what that might mean and this variable, etc. So again, thanks for bearing with us. I know a lot of you guys enjoy that kind of stuff, but I'm glad it's over. We can kind of move on. But Zalker, I want to spend a little more time on Sean. Zalker, what have you been playing, buddy, and where can people find you?
People can find me at YouTube, Zalker87, and on Twitter, Zalker87. Obviously, I put content out, if you guys don't know. I've been playing Ori. I'm almost done with it. I've been playing the shit out of Doom, and I've been playing the new update on Sea of Thieves. I did everything on it in about 10 hours. Got all the fucking unlocks, everything. It was awesome. I really recommend you guys check it out. It was pretty fucking fun. Cool little tall tale. But yeah, check out Doom also, and Ori. Yeah, that's what I've been doing, man, and I'm glad I could be on here. I need fucking food. Somebody DoorDash me something. And chat, you guys are freaking awesome. Look at that, over 1,000 likes, bro, live. You guys are everything about this show, and we appreciate every single one of you. Like, honestly. Yeah. So yeah, thanks. And D-Batch, you're a fraud. That's all.
Oh, and by the way, Sean, man, nice to meet you, man. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, no worries, man. Nice to meet you too.
Sean, you're awesome too.
Hey, by the way, catch Noof Nukem as well. He's on right now. So we've also got shout out to Others Inc. And you guys can leave if you've done your outro, by the way. Shout out to Others Inc. and Greg E3 is Stick Figure and Assassin Lupa. She says 1K likes. Yay. Thank you so much, guys, for the 1,000 likes for the end of the show. Jason Ellis is Shoguns. And so many more. You guys are awesome. And I wanted to read one of these off, but I, of course, missed it. Brian DiDomonico, what's going on, buddy? He says, do your thing, guys. Thanks for coming on and talking every week. Nice break from the world's happenings. Yes, we do appreciate it, brother. Thanks so much. Sean, you were in a hammock, and I kind of forgot. We were deep into the tech discussion, and the coming weeks we might have you on again because I want you to be able to give your opinion more on some things. But when it comes down to it, man, you're an amazing graphic designer. You do great work. You've done the work on this overlay here. You've done a ton of work in the community. Zalker's logo, for instance, even. Tell people kind of what you're about and where they can find you and stuff and what you've been playing.
Yeah, you can find me at Sean Labrie on Twitter. What I've been playing, mainly Ori, just trying to finish. I'm trying not to start too many games at once because I have a bad habit of doing that. So I'm trying to finish up Ori, and then I do want to jump into Doom Eternal. And like I was saying, Half-Life Alyx is a must. So I just don't know which one I'm going to jump into next, but I do want to try that one. I've been a fan of the show for years. I've talked to many of you guys individually, so it's my first time being on the show, first time being on any kind of podcast, really. So I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I didn't know that, man. I didn't want you to feel like you you had to come on or something. I didn't want you to feel weird,
comfortable, isn't it?
No, something I always wanted to do. Usually I'm commuting home, like right when you guys are coming on, so it was like never really a thought. But now that I'm working from home, like, I'm here, so it's like, yeah, why not? Give it a shot.
Well, it's good having you on, man. And again, does great work. Find him on Twitter. Josh Linter, by the way, he says, been watching this podcast, and it's great to see it grow into what it is now. You guys stay safe, and we will see you next week. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Thank you guys again for what you do. Check out the links down below. Subscribe to their channel. Hit the bell icon. Patreon link down below, doing game giveaways every single month and more. Thank you guys there. Things are kind of hectic right now, trying to catch up on things and going through some personal things. But at the end of the day, we just try to keep it gaming, except for, a few morons here and there. We're not perfect, so we try not to lash out too much. But again, thanks for hearing us out and talking games with us. You guys are awesome. We're going to get out of here and go eat some food and play some games. We'll see you.
Later, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Zucker's a fraud.
I hate you so much.